Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for joining today's live stream news summary from Moscow program. Second news update difference. First was published in early in the morning on Patreon and Boosty pages of mine first, and then on YouTube and Rumble channels. Also, hopefully there will be no technical issues during their stream because there are some reports that quite a number of platforms are experiencing some difficulties with the connection today throughout Russia. And okay, as always, dear friends, I will share with you latest updates on some major developments. And in case you find this episode informative and interesting, please indicate that, like the video, leave some commentary, share information at least about existence of my channel, might help to reach wider audience. And well, um, for terrorism, it looks like there is some. Is there any issues on Rumble, dear friends, with the stream? Because right now looks like stream on Rumble is not working, while on YouTube is it's like okay. Yours. Okay. Anyways, dear friends, let's go through some news. Of course, after the news segment, I will react. I will react on super chats, and there is quite a number of 13 actually, if I count correctly, 13 super chats from Scooby with their alphabets there. Thank you very much for donation, Scooby. That's I have seen first time something like that. So thank you, and yes, I will react on the super chats. There are recommendations, interesting recommendations from Christopher. And I will, of course, highlight those recommendations. Me personally, and many members of our community find it interesting. Although I can see Christopher is online, I can see commentary, and Christopher, uh, I appreciate your support, you are basically on daily basis for quite a while now. Are supporting my work, this project, with your recommendations and the donations through PayPal. And I just I'm beginning to feel uncomfortable with that because I mean these donations, it's donations, right? It's money. So I hope you are a millionaire. I just hope you are a millionaire uh, because I don't want to feel like guilt because donation once a week from member of community, maybe once in a month, once in a couple of weeks. Um, that's what we do, right? But daily donations, you have to have capabilities, financial capabilities of that, and I hope you are doing good, right? You are doing okay, because yet again I'm beginning to feel uncomfortable because there is everyday support from you, and I mean, even though I'm extremely thankful for this support, but please make sure that you are doing good, right? First you, your close ones, and then support of other channels out there if you want to, right? I had to say that, I wanted to say that to you. So that's been said, dear friends. Once again, of course, I'm extremely thankful for everybody who ever supported and continues to support. But first and foremost, of course, everybody have to make sure that they are doing good, in financial terms, in security terms, and then uh, assisting others. Of course, that's a whole different story. And I can see Christopher is commenting. Okay, Levan, will cut back on donations. Just make sure you are doing good, right? Don't in any way, shape, or form jeopardize your own financial well-being because, as I said, I'm beginning to feel a bit uncomfortable because these donations, it's money, isn't it? You are sending these recommendations through PayPal with the donations. So I hope I explained myself very well, even though I'm very appreciative and very thankful. But I want to make sure that you not harm your well-being first and foremost, right? Let's make that clear. Okay, dear friends, let's go for a news, right? Let's go for a news now, and I will start with this updates that Russian forces struck two more dry cargo vessels carrying Saturn goods for Kiev regime's forces late evening yesterday. There are videos that are published on internet about these strikes on the vessel, and well, we are seeing now, as I predicted earlier, dear friends, we are seeing Saturn drop in the number of vessels that being struck by Russian forces while implementing this maritime blockade on the western back Ukrainian Nazi and their terrorist regime, which was understandable because, let's say, if I mean, obviously there was dozens and dozens of vessels out there at the sea directed towards Ukrainian ports before Russia started implementing maritime blockade as a response to terrorist activity of Kiev regime and its NATO backers on high seas in Azov and the Black Seas, right, when they were targeting a lot of Russian commercial vessels. And when Russia retaliated with the blockade, of course, out of those dozens of vessels that were directed towards Ukrainian ports in Odessa region, in Nikolaev region, many probably turned away and unloaded their goods somewhere in Europe to transfer then from European countries to ground crossings. But some vessels continue, looks like, their path and attempted to break through this Russian blockade. And therefore, every day, basically, we were receiving in the past 2 weeks, if not more, reports about this many vessels being struck by Russian forces and not many vessels. And I predicted that eventually this number will drop to zero. And we have now a report that because there will be no more vessels, right? At least in big numbers that will attempt to break through this blockade. And we are observing exactly that process now when yesterday evening, and since yesterday evening, basically, there was no more reports about vessels being struck. But yesterday evening, two more vessels were eliminated. On the topic of maritime blockade that Russia introduced on Ukrainian Nazi and the terrorist regime as a retaliation, well, Kiev regime itself claimed that they are suffering approximately they might suffer $3 billion losses towards the end of the year if nothing changes. And I mean, hard to tell is that number is correct or not. But Kiev regime's agricultural minister claimed that. And today on TASS news agency, I saw this report that Ukraine's losses already from a portal blockade exceeded $1 billion. So Ukraine has lost about 1.5 billion in dollars in foreign exchange earnings due to a blockade of its seaports since the July 22nd, according to TASS news agency's calculations. And yet again, this number could be exacter, maybe not, but either ways, of course, Kiev regime will suffer tremendously because it has lost a major supply line, major logistical line when it comes to weapon supply and major logistical lines when it comes to any exports that Kiev regime was engaged in. And well, main export from Ukraine was agricultural producer, of course, that now has to be directed towards European countries and then exported from there or sold in Europe, which will make obviously European farmers extremely unhappy. And we might see soon some demonstrations, massive demonstrations in Poland, in Romania, potentially maybe even deep into EU territory. And also logistical lines going to get overwhelmed. Overall, of course, that will make life for enemies of Russia more difficult. And by enemies of Russia, I mean leading class or ruling class in the Europe and their proxy regime in Ukraine. So that's a good thing, right? And in case some farmers in Europe gonna suffer some financial losses due to influx of this or due to flooding of cheap produce from Ukraine, then, well, sorry for that, but those farmers should, and generally speaking, citizens of European countries should be more active when it comes to, you know, policies that their governments are implementing that are creating then, as a consequence, this trouble for the Europeans themselves, right? If they have to blame, or if they want to blame anybody, they should blame their own governments first and foremost, their own ruling class, and also their friends. Um, well, Kiev regime, one way or another, will lose, of course, financial income, billions, because of this Russian maritime blockade. And well, you know who's gonna fill the gap, isn't it? It's gonna be mostly European taxpayers again, and well, that's what happens when majority of societies are passive despite all the reckless policies of their leadership. Eventually, they are facing the consequences that they never expected to face. But yeah, they should be a little more careful. Also, dear friends, throughout the day, we are receiving reports about Russian long-range precision strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, also energy infrastructure of the Kiev regime that is related to military activity throughout their Kiev control territory, mostly on the central, northern, southern parts. And as one example, in the Pavlograd, there was yet another long-range precision strike conducted by Russian forces. You can see on your screen right now aftermath of this attack, some pink smoke, either warehouse with some petroleum products, some or something was hit clearly, right? Or maybe energy infrastructure. No nuances, no details as of now, unfortunately. And as I mentioned, the Kiev regime, well, due to active involvement of NATO member states in this war against Russian Federation, against Russian people, and despite all the successes of Russian armed forces on the battlefield and in regards to these long-range precision strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure of the regime there, unfortunately, every day, every night, Russian people are facing long-range attacks that are orchestrated by NATO member states, and the number of those attacks are not decreasing, right? There are different levels of long-range attacks, different scale of long-range attacks, but generally speaking, every day, hundreds upon hundreds of drones are launched to strike Russia, sometimes over 1,000 in single 24-hour period. And we are not observing the significant drop or complete stop of these long-range attacks because, yet again, vast majority of this long-range strike weapons, drones, missiles, and so on are produced in NATO member states. And until Russia will restore the terms with those NATO member states and will force them out of this conflict, obviously we will have to deal with these long-range attacks. And past night, Russia witnessed one of their largest in scale long-range attacks conducted by NATO member states and the Ukrainian proxies. To date, at least this year, 605 drones were intercepted over their Belgorod, Bryansk, Vladimir, Voronezh, Kaluga, Kursk, Lipetsk, Nizhny Novgorod, Oryol, Rostov, Ryazan, Smolensk, Tambov, Tver, Tula, Yaroslav regions, Moscow region, Krasnodar Krai, Crimea, and seas of Azov Sea and the Black Sea. Vast geography of these long-range attacks, unfortunately. But yet again, unless we restore the terror with their collective West, unfortunately, I mean, these long-range attacks are gonna continue because there is no way Western elites will just stop transferring weapons to attack Russia just because they have to be forced, right, to stop. Otherwise, they will continue because they have never ever even dreamed about, I think, targeting Russia this freely and killing Russian citizens this freely and destroying Russian infrastructure this freely as they do for quite a while now, for years actually, right? And with total impunity. They never even dreamed about this kind of situation, I guess, and yeah, therefore they are extremely emboldened, and I don't think they're gonna stop on their own. As a result of these long-range attacks, every single day, unfortunately, more and more people have been killed, civilians, by the way, on Russian territory, more and more people being wounded. And in the Bryansk region, for example, as a result of these long-range drone attacks, 2 more civilians were killed, according to Russian media reports. And the acting governor of Bryansk region, Igor Kovalchuk, confirmed this information. So yet another tragedy created by leadership of NATO member states and their Ukrainian proxies. Also, there are reports that there was a massive attack on the Yaroslav region. I saw a report this morning that more than 90 drones were intercepted over the Yaroslav region, but unfortunately, some drones did manage to bypass air defenses and struck oil refinery. And based on images that I have seen throughout the day on internet, oil refinery took quite significant damage. But yet again, yes, every now and then, Kyiv regime and its NATO backers are more or less successful in these long-range attacks. They are destroying warehouses of this company or that company. They are targeting energy infrastructure. A lot of oil refineries were struck, for example, in past several months alone. But we already know, dear friends, that Russian engineers are well capable of dealing with this situation, and many oil refineries in a few weeks' time after the strike are again up and running. And there are instances when same refineries have been struck by Kyiv regime and its NATO backers like 2, 3, 4 times, right? They are just going around circles now. And despite all these long-range attacks, even Western propaganda outlets like Financial Times was forced basically to acknowledge the reality and report like a few days ago, and I shared that information with you in one of my updates, that despite all these massive attacks on Russian energy infrastructure, Russian oil refineries only lost about 30% of their capability to refine the oil. 70% is up and running, right? And if you keep in mind that alternative routes of import of gasoline and whatever is needed in terms of petroleum products has been established, then no one should be surprised. No one should be surprised to see this kind of reports in Russian media that gasoline prices have fallen in 46 regions throughout the Russia. Dear friends, when you last time hear news about gasoline prices dropping in your countries, especially if you live in somewhere in Europe? Ever? But yes, gasoline prices have dropped in 46 regions. And what is very important, I think, dear friends, gasoline prices are dropping in Crimea, in Sevastopol, and throughout the Crimean Peninsula. And that clearly indicates that despite all the attempts of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers to cut off Crimea through these long-range drone attacks from mainland Russia, they are failing, and the Russian businesses, Russian companies, governments, local governments, regional governments, and federal governments are succeeding basically to overcome these obstacles and to deliver to Crimea more and more goods, essential goods, including fuel, of course, to stabilize their situation. And I see right now different comments from Scooby that 30% is a lot. Yes, of course, Scooby, no one is arguing that. 30% is a lot. And I will say even more. There are reports that Russian engineers while Russian engineers are restoring quite rapidly certain refineries, there are a number of refineries where work has not yet even begun because of the close proximity of those refineries from Kyiv-controlled territories. So in some instances, decision, I guess, was made to just hold on to emergency works, right, to restore the capability, because it makes no sense, right? In 1-2 weeks' time, those refineries, they're going to be another large-scale strike, and they're going to be taken out. So also, it will make more sense to basically import the fuel, and stabilize the situation now, and that way, and to invest more in refineries that are more secure. And that's what Russian side is doing. Of course, this is harmful, right? These long-range attacks on Russian energy infrastructure is harmful, painful. No one doubts that. But as I have said there many times before, compared to, and these long-range attacks would never happen if deterrent was in place with the collective West, isn't it? But what I want to highlight, dear friends, is that I lost the thought line of the thought, but what I was saying is that Well, situation is stabilizing, right? And also there is another point. While Russian oil refineries, number of oil refineries are either decreasing capabilities due to these attacks, or in some cases are stop the refining process. Of course, then Russian energy companies have more oil itself to sell, correct? There are free volumes of oil now that are not going to oil refineries and can be sold on the world market. That's exactly what is being done. That's why Russia is still on daily basis exporting like 3 million barrels of oil, something like that, 3+ million barrels of oil on daily basis. And of course, this additional income that Russia gets can be used then to subsidize, let's say, if necessary, oil imports, not oil imports, but petroleum product imports. And there may be something like that is happening, and we are observing now the situation when in 46 regions, right? In 46 regions, prices are falling, including in Crimea. So there is always way out. There is always a way out. I have said many times before that given the size of Russia, given the size of Russian economy, complexity of Russian economy, all these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation that are orchestrated by NATO are very painful, frustrating, and all the rest, obviously, of course, no one denies that. But nevertheless, compared to, I mean, in terms of size, comparison, size and damage comparison, it's like mosquito bites. I mean, if mosquitoes or swarm or mosquitoes are biting you, like 10 of them, 20 of them, like every day, every other day, yeah, it's annoying, right? Sometimes it's painful, obviously, right? Frustrating, yes, sir. But you can deal with it, isn't it? You just can deal with it. That's how it is, and that's how these long range attacks actually look like. When it comes to capabilities of Russian economy and actual damage that Kiev regime or the NATO backers are capable of doing. All these long-range attacks, I personally frustrated with long-range attacks, not because of some energy crisis that they created at some point, but because of the death of the civilians. That's what is extremely painful about it. That's it. People are dying, and people's lives being ruined. People are losing their health. That's what is extremely painful. Rest can be rebuilt. Oil refinery, you can rebuild it in a week, 2 week, 1 month's time. Maybe in some cases it will take, I don't know, if something extraordinary is needed, then it might take several months, but you will do it again. But you cannot bring back life of the people, right? So that's why these long-range attacks are painful on a humanitarian level, but on economical scale, it's like a mosquito bites for Russian economy. That's what it is. Also, dear friends, although if you listen only Western propaganda, you might think that Russian economy has already collapsed or something like that, right? Because Western propaganda, Western public figures, Western politicians are in whole different freaking universe, right? Also, dear friends, I want to share with you this information about another somewhat interesting statements from former head of general staff of Kiev regime, Valery Zaluzhny, who is lately actually begun making headlines while his statements are quite basic, or will sound quite basic for us, right? For informed part of their global society, but might sound quite controversial in the West, given the Western propaganda. But nevertheless, because he's talking about basics that are tabooed in the West and on a Kiev-controlled territory, he definitely does make headlines. At the same time, he's rallying masses behind him because people in Ukraine, majority, I think, also understands this basic stuff, right? For example, a few days ago, Zaluzhny stated, that, and I report about it, that, well, Ukraine will never join NATO. He's saying this openly. He was talking to ambassadors, but nevertheless, and he's himself ambassador right now, isn't it? He acts as ambassador of Ukraine in UK, but nevertheless, of course, he knew that this information would be published, and he was talking actually not to ambassadors but to Ukrainian public, right? To Ukrainian citizens. And now we have another statement, which is also basic, but nevertheless tabooed in the West and in Ukraine, and therefore, I think people in Ukraine that are striving for some realness will further appreciate these kind of statements from Zaluzhny. And the statement is, as I said, just speaking basic stuff. Former commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Zaluzhny, stated that Ukraine has exhausted its capability for innovation on the battlefield. By 2026, Ukraine will have used all types of weapons, well, except perhaps Tomahawks, nuclear weapons, aircraft carriers, and F-35s, which are in the arsenal of NATO. And it will have applied their doctrines of use. The resources are exhausted. Russia has found countermeasures to all of this. And that's, by the way, a relatively popular, some say most popular public figure among Ukrainian citizens is saying that Russia has found countermeasures on everything. Nothing. He's acknowledging that nothing works, right? And by saying so, if you add to that also his previous statements that Ukraine will never join NATO, what kind of assumptions we can make? That Zaluzhny is kind of already engaged in a presidential campaign, isn't it? And dear friends, what is the sum of the Russian key demands? Ukraine's neutrality, and Zaluzhny is already saying that we will never join NATO, right? And another Russian goal is, of course, demilitarization, and if a question of joining Ukraine is no longer on the table, then I think Zaluzhny also is hinting that, well, he might negotiate with the Russian side in regards to military capabilities of, let's say, Kiev regime, if it will survive after certain de-escalation is being agreed. Because he's clearly saying that we cannot continue this war. It's useless. We can't continue this war any further because we are exhausted, and Russia is finding countermeasures on anything and everything that we or NATO can come up, right? That's it. And dear friends, you might ask her, yeah, but there is no presidential elections being planned in Ukraine, isn't it? So why would Zelensky become this active right now? And I have an answer on that. I was also asking this question, and the only logical explanation that I come up with is that, well, recently we have seen activization of Paris and Brussels, globalists from continental Europe, to enhance their presence on the Kiev-controlled territory and influence on the processes inside Ukraine. And this became very clear when Zelensky, which is a British asset, like Zaluzhny himself, when Zelensky fired this former defense minister, Fyodorov. It has become very clear, isn't it, that all these demonstrations in support of Fyodorov, all these demands that Fyodorov should be restored as defense minister, all these demands that Syrsky, former commander-in-chief of Ukraine's armed forces, former head of general staff, should be resigned, which actually happened. He was fired by Zelensky under the pressure. And all these demonstrations, all these processes were orchestrated by NGOs that are financed from Brussels, from Paris, from continental Europe, by the way. So clearly, European globalists went on offensive, clearly. And I think London was shaken by this a bit, right? Maybe not scared initially, but shaken. And then what we see, well, the US start attacking from other side. Washington start attacking from other side. And well, pure example of that was when Zelensky was forced through NABU and STOP, Washington-controlled so-called anti-corruption institutions in Ukraine, to fire another British asset that was serving as a Ukraine's ambassador in Washington, Stefanishina. And she was not just fired, by the way, by Zelensky, but also she is now under house arrest, and court demanded $134,000 or 6 million hryvnias as from her as a bail. And she said she don't has this money. I don't know if London will pay for her one way or another, but this is another example how London's interests is being like screwed in a ways, right? Washington is on offensive, Brussels and Paris are on offensive, London is beginning to panic a bit, right? And what cards do they have? Well, they went for activization of Zaluzhny, isn't it? And this is not random developments. I think you can only keep a certain figure relevant for so long, right? Without actual political process, statements alone would not cut. And therefore, I think there is a probability, there is a clear probability that before end of this year, something gonna happen in Ukraine. Zelensky gonna be removed there, one way or another, right, from office, and London will do whatever it can to put Zaluzhny in a position of power, because they activated Zaluzhny for a reason. And same time, well, clearly with this basic statement, Zaluzhny is kind of sending message to Moscow through that to paint the picture that he is someone with whom, well, Moscow might try and negotiate, because, you know, he is not like crazy radical, right? At least that's the impression that he wants to leave with this basic statement that, well, Ukraine never going to join NATO, and Russia is finding countermeasures on everything that we can come up with, right? He is clearly trying to appease Moscow in some strange ways, correct? Excuse me. Either way, dear friends, these plans that London has right now might not work, because much more serious, much more complex processes are taking place, and whatever plans London might have could be derailed literally in next several days, next several weeks, given the rapid changes on a political or geopolitical landscape, right? As I already mentioned, dear friends, former ambassador of Ukraine into US, Stefanishina, that was fired basically literally like a week ago or something, is already under the house arrest. NABU and SAP, these Washington-controlled institutions, are accusing her of corruption, basically. And also on this background, I want to share with you this information that a high-ranking Russian diplomat, Rodion Miroshnik, stated that Russia needs to be prepared for prolonged combat operations. He explained this by saying that Europe will not allow a resolution to the Ukrainian conflict in the near future. And this is quite interesting statement. Because on one hand, we have clear indicators that now certain groups in Europe are trying to test the ground in terms of negotiations with Moscow. And in past 4 or 5 weeks, there was at least 2 meetings, according to reports, one in Baku, Azerbaijan, between representatives of European countries and the Russian Federation. And there was another meeting in Austria towards the end of last month, July, also between certain former high-ranking officials in Europe and the former Russian high-ranking officials. I was reporting about these developments in my previous programs, and clearly these meetings are not random stuff, isn't it? Those people that are negotiating, having meetings, are talking about some stuff, mostly about Ukraine, have a green light from leadership of countries that they represent, isn't it? Clearly. That indicates that in London, in Paris, in Berlin, in Brussels, also in Moscow, they are clearly certain groups that are not against talks, not against reaching some sort of agreement in regards to Ukrainian crisis, but same time, as Miroshnik stated, there are other forces too, and I guess no any less powerful, or maybe even more powerful, that are extremely radical, are extremely emboldened, mostly because of the impunity with which they are harming Russian people and the Russian Federation throughout these years due to lack of deterrent between the West and Russia. And those forces might easily derail anything. And that's why I said, by the way, that London, which is British ruling class, no matter how Russia haters they are, by the way, they also pragmatics, right? They understand that UK is losing big time. UK is facing tremendous challenges on its own, right? And they are too extended. And I don't think further prolongation of this war for another 3 to 5 years is something that UK can bear, right? British economy in opposition to go for that, and same can be said about European economies. But yet again, there are radicals also in very same Europe, in UK, in Germany, in France, and so on, that want prolongation of this war. And the question is now which side will prevail. And also it is worth noticing that Moscow itself looks like willing to be engaged in the talks. Even this statement of Miroshnik indicates that, well, Moscow is not against talks, the escalation, but well, the Europeans are, right? There are certain influential forces there that they don't want to come up with something serious to reach agreement. So therefore, it is anybody's guess which way situation will develop. But what I can also add to this topic is that Moscow is also finding itself in deep into a corner, isn't it? Moscow, I mean Russian president and his closest inner circle, because well, they try harder. They even sidelined foreign ministry in some ways, right? To establish some bridges with Washington. It did not work, right? Clearly, without Putin's authorization or Kremlin's authorization, these talks with the European representatives would not happen. And those meetings also looks like are failing, and mostly because of this level of insanity among European elites that are emboldened just too much, right? With this impunity with which they are harming Russia. And therefore, as time goes by, I'm more and more convinced that Putin is also cornered in some ways, because what's he gonna do, man? What's he gonna do now? He is unwilling to restore the deterrent with the collective West. He don't want to burn, let's say, last chances to rebuild relationships with those European countries. I guess that's the reason why he is not greenlighting Russian military and security services to strike back on those NATO countries and bring European elites to their senses. Radical part of it, right? So if he is not willing to restore the deterrent with the collective West, then it's again only other options are, one is to stay engaged in this forever war until Russia will demilitarize NATO or collective West, which is barely possible even on theoretical level. And the other option is some sort of a freezing of the conflict, some sort of agreement to de-escalate right now, right? And he can't reach that too. He probably would not be for forever war. I don't think he wants that. And then to reach agreement is also out of the table right now, it looks like, because he can't do it. these radical elements in European elites or among globalists, Western elites, only talking with the language of ultimatums, and Putin will struggle to sell, if he agrees on ultimatums of their Western elites, he will struggle to sell it as a victory to Russian people, isn't it? So I don't know, man. Some. We have actually reached the point when even I don't know, man. Probably no one knows what's gonna happen next. And yeah, you might argue, or some people might argue that well, eventually, some sort of agreement will be reached there because there are too many indicators of background negotiations, and Putin might agree on some extreme demands from the globalists to de-escalate. I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, but I don't know how he will manage to sell it to public. The only way is to silence everybody in Russia, maybe, right? Silence any opposition. Is that the way he can sell anything as a victory then? And maybe if that's the direction that Kremlin is heading now, then maybe that's why every other day we have new waves of attacks on internet here in Russia, internet freedom, freedom of connection. And today, as I already mentioned in the beginning of the program, by the way, dozens of platforms experiencing some difficulties with the connection, and many people are saying that that's because certain state institutions that are engaged in a blocking campaign of all sorts of platforms and VPNs and this and that. Every now and then they are messing up, or they are doing some shit that they don't freaking know themselves. And therefore they are disrupting connection throughout the Russian segment of internet. And this might be the case, by the way. Might be the case. And if trajectory that we will go for, Russia will go for from now and for some time at least, is to no matter Western demands, agree on seek the de-escalation. Then in that case, which will be interpreted by many as a Moscow's capitulation, but in that case, of course, we should expect that soon assault on internet connection will reach some ultimate levels, and at that point, dear friends, maybe I will have no option but to go to Minsk. I don't know. There is no restrictions in Minsk, by the way. Maybe I will go for Minsk for the time being, and we'll start reporting from there. But anyways, dear friends, we will see what is going to happen. Very confusing situation. Very rarely I find myself in a situation when, while commenting on some political stuff, when I don't really have a strong opinion, because it's just too confusing. Everything is too confusing, right? Everything is too confusing. And I'm not quite sure even Kremlin knows what's going to happen. They messed up everything so much with their restrained policies, with their strange decisions, right, to put it mildly, that at this point, I'm not quite sure even Kremlin understands what the hell is going on, right? And which direction is the right direction. We will see. But on one hand, London is kind of certain forces in London kind of are initiating this infighter or joining in fight in Ukraine to promote further and strengthen their candidate to replace Zelensky, which is Zaluzhny. Washington and Europe is also accelerated, so that clearly indicates that something is going to happen, right? Something is going to happen. But on the other hand, and also we have reports about behind the closed door meetings between European representatives, Russian representatives. There are also constant contacts between Trump's administration and Putin's administration through Witkov, Kushner, this Dmitriev, and this other guy, Ushakov, right? But same time, we also have these kind of statements from Russian high-ranking officials, especially from the foreign ministry, that Well, despite everything, there is no indicators to be optimistic that anytime soon we're gonna have some de-escalation because the Europeans, and that is a globalist, by the way, are not willing to have a decent discussion about it. So now you tell me what to expect. Now you tell me what to expect. I personally think Putin is clearly leaning, or he was leaning towards agreement, even if that agreement was not something that he was very much okay with. But at least that will allow him to have a break. Even if it's a like freezing of the conflict, a temporary solution that he himself says that he's against. In previous years, many others said, but politicians are inclined to one day say one thing and the next day something different. But as I was predicting, level of involvement on the side of Western ruling class is such that well, they might come up with demands that Putin just can't agree. No matter how much he wants deal, he just can't agree because he can't sell it to the public. Even entire freaking internet is blocked here in Russia, right? And people no longer have opportunity to communicate with each other through distances and to communicate with the rest of the world, because you cannot sell agreement on an ultimatum as a victory. You just can't do it, right? No one's going to buy that nonsense, and that will endanger the system. And last thing I think Putin wants is a system to be shaken, right? Because when he goes, he plans probably to leave certain people in the positions, right? To make sure that he and his family members and his friends and all that clan is safe and secure, right? And no one gonna go after them. But if system is shaken, that means that anything can happen, and even Putin may not be safe once he's out of office. So it's very complicated, by the way. And all I can say is Putin bring this on himself. He did it, right? With his very strange, very strange, to put it mildly, attitudes toward the Western ruling class and their attempts to, I don't know, man, keep door open for them or something. Anyways, let's continue. Let's continue. As I said, very messy stuff, man. Very messy stuff. Very confusing. Probably not even Putin knows what the hell is going on. So how am I gonna know? Meanwhile, we have this report that this one goes somewhere here, by the way. And I will continue with this one, which is that, you hear constantly, isn't it, that this amount of money being allocated for Kiev regime and that amount of money, hundreds of billions overall in the past several years. And I think many people in Europe very much would not be happy to hear that they pay salaries of Ukraine citizens in the past 4.5 years for $200 billion. Salaries, by the way. In Ukrainian budget alone, West invested 200 billion at least in past 4.5 years. And this information is coming from Ukraine's central bank. So at least this is either a very conservative number or maybe actual number, who knows, right? And if 200 billion was a direct assistance to Kiev regime's budget, then you can imagine how much overall price tag is for Western ruling class to continue this war against Russian people. We clearly are talking about trillion plus, potentially trillions, not just in terms of weapons worsen, not just in terms of money, but also in terms of losses that Western economies have due to this war that Western elites are waging. Now, you tell me, dear friends, did you know that Western taxpayers send 200 billion into Ukrainian budget to pay salaries of bureaucrats in Ukraine and everybody, all state employees, right? From bureaucrats to militaries that are sent somewhere in the trenches. If those militaries even getting anything, right? There are so many reports, by the way, that Kiev regime has this high number of lost personnel because they don't want to pay compensations to their family members, right? And those compensations are going to come from budget, isn't it? So from out of these 200 billion, God knows, maybe at least 50 billion was pocketed by Zelensky and his inner circle, maybe more even, actually. Also, but nevertheless, Western ruling class, as I said, man, Western ruling class is all about insanity and the prolongation of this war against Russian people. Because yet again, those Russophobes, those Russia haters, would never ever dream about being in a situation when they are killing Russian citizens on daily basis, destroying Russian infrastructure on daily basis, and with total impunity. That's something that is truly impossible to understand how this is even possible, right? But that's what is happening, isn't it? That's just what is happening. And it's not just obviously it's not just finances that Western ruling class is sending to Kiev regime and to prolong this war, but also they need the manpower. They need the manpower, and from today on, according to reports, citizens of Ukraine would not be able to get asylum in Europe, especially ones that have not served in the military and have no permission from Kiev regime itself to basically leave the country. So all those Ukrainians that are running away from Ukraine while crossing borders or any other way, crossing borders illegally or any other way, by the way, they are trapped now on the Kiev controlled territory because they are no longer welcome in Europe. This does not affect those citizens of Ukraine that already are in Europe and have protection from local authorities, asylum status or refugee status or whatever. But new ones, no. They're not going to take no new ones, by the way. They're going to sacrifice literally everybody that is stuck now in Ukraine. Ukraine is a concentration camp. Ukraine is a concentration camp in which everybody is going to be sacrificed by Western elites. The EU has stopped providing temporary protection to Ukrainian citizens of conscription age starting August 5th, from yesterday actually. Ukrainian citizens of conscription age who are applying for a temporary protection for the first time in the EU countries must provide proof of legal exit from Ukraine, documents confirming their fulfillment of military obligations or their existence of legitimate grounds for crossing the border. So basically, they are trapping everybody. They are trapping about millions of people, basically, right? As of now, there is no forceful mobilization of females, at least, right? So this probably would not apply on females. But when it comes to male population in Ukraine, on the Kiev-controlled territory, they are finished, man. They are trapped now. And many of them going to get sacrificed, 100%. And it's only a matter of time before we will see mass deportations from Europe itself. Because only in regards to Kiev-controlled territory, I mean, if Kiev regime is reaching the point when they are now conscripting or forcefully mobilizing people that are working in strategical fields. They are taking people from hospitals, they are taking people from infrastructure objects like metro workers, by the way, engineers from metro in Kiev. And some people, there are a lot of videos on internet when Kiev metro is flooding and all sorts of stuff is happening. You know why? Because there are no more engineers left, right? I mean, maybe there are some, but not enough engineers left to maintain, to do some maintenance on this extremely complex infrastructure. Kiev regime is beginning to forcefully mobilize people from logistics, right? There's so many videos when they are stopping these manhunters of Zelensky are stopping lorries, by the way. These 40-footer lorries, and they're dragging their drivers out of vehicle, right? They are mobilizing whoever they can, healthy, not healthy, they don't care, right? And they are reaching the point. They are reaching the point when further forceful mobilization or intensification of the mobilization will bring down, totally bring down infrastructure inside the Ukraine. And the Europeans must know that. European elites must know that. So therefore, it's not so long before they will start mass deportations of men from Europe. And they can deport at least million men. At least million men. Meanwhile, UK, not surprisingly, further expands anti-Russian sanctions by 19 items. Okay, by the way, 19 more sanctions on the Russian Federation from UK. And well, how many of those sanctions have been already imposed on Russia? I mean, 40,000, 50,000. Is anybody counting any longer? I don't know. But these psychopaths that are in charge of Western world are basically waking up every day and probably are beginning the day thinking about what anti-Russian step they can take today. And every other day they are coming up with sanctions because what else they can do, man? You know, let's come up with sanctions, and they are sanctioning same companies over and over and over again, and same fields of economies. UK has expanded its list of anti-Russian sanctions by 19 items, including 6 tankers, vessels. They find some vessels that they're going to sanction now, and several banks, including Ozone Bank. UK Treasury announced, according to document published by the department, the sanctions list included Bank of Ozone, Center Investor, Realist Bank, Bank Stavr, Teleport Bank, and their state-owned Roshim Bank, as well as 6 tankers flying the Russian flags of Russia, India, San Marino, Barbados, Palau, and there are several companies. Okay, by the way, I mean, it's laughable, man. It's freaking joke. Meanwhile, Europe itself is, as I said, man, Europe itself, they might act tough, these European elites, but they are definitely not in a position to behave this way, this irrational, isn't it? And that especially makes it hard to understand for me why we are not teaching the lesson to European elites while they are this weak. Actually, they are not strong, man. They are extremely weak, and why Putin is hesitating to teach the lesson to these scumbags, right? Globalists and globalist control regimes all over the Europe, because they are so weak, man, in many ways and in every ways. But I mean, it is what it is. Ask Putin when you see him what is his game plan. But Europe is weak, man. European ruling class, political elites, they are weak, and they're one of the weakest link in globalist structure there is, of course, Germany. And their current Chancellor of Germany, Merz, whose popularity is below 15% last time I checked. And today we have reports that on August 10, in 4 days from now, he might resign. German media outlets are predicting this to happen, and so we will see. Maybe globalists will have to appoint some another puppet instead of Merz in near future, in several days time. Okay, if that will change anything, by the way, isn't it? Like in UK, I mean, I would like to ask members of our community from UK. I mean, you have a new prime minister now for how long? Like 2 weeks, 3 weeks? It's too early, of course, to have a judgment. But anyway, do you even expect anything to change? Probably not, because these are all puppets, isn't it? True decision makers are in shadows, and were in the shadows and will be in the shadows, right? So whoever was making decisions 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and now whoever does make decisions now from those shadows, they're going to continue to do so tomorrow, day after tomorrow, in 5 and 10 years from now, if European societies will not wake up, or Western societies will not wake up and regain control over their countries and their own destinies. and I doubt that they're gonna wake up actually, majorities. And so, what is the point then? I mean, why should anybody expect any changes when this chancellor being replaced by other one, this prime minister being replaced by another one? Makes it's a freaking clown show, isn't it? So therefore, okay, some people I see, some people are happy that Merz is going down. Okay, and so what? I mean, you think some adequate individual gonna become German chancellor anytime soon? No, man. Right? Merz gonna be replaced, maybe even further, even bigger psychopath, right? And bigger insane individual that the globalists will appoint. Probably that's exactly what is going to happen, but we will see, dear friends. In 4 days from now, according to media reports, including inside the Germany, Merz, Chancellor Merzer is going to resign. And when it comes to Germany, yesterday I reported, dear friends, that there was an incident, a false flag, I think, false flag operation orchestrated by British intelligence, German intelligence, and the Ukrainian proxies when a drone with explosive materials allegedly was found next to Ukrainian AN-124 cargo plane. It's a Soviet airplane, by the way, of Antonov Constructor Bureau, one of the biggest planes. Only Mria was bigger. This one called Ruslan. This plane and marvel of Soviet engineering, of course. And of course, this was a false flag operation, and we have continuation of this story, right? Continuation of this story, because according to a number of reports, Germany is considering to invoke Article 4 now of NATO, following this drone incident in Leipzig, and the Article 4 is when NATO countries are gathering and they're discussing something. This is not right away Article 5, but this is a pre-Article 5 situation when they are trying to put serious faces on their on them and try to talk serious about something. I mean, we have a consultation here, and look what happened. Cheap show, by the way, cheap show. Nothing not worth really either trust or much attention, but we definitely have to highlight that this is a false flag operation. And also, in regards to the story, there were updates that this Ukrainian AN-24, next to which allegedly was found this drone with explosives, were packed with explosives itself. This plane allegedly was packed with explosives. It has delivered from France to Germany, and these explosives were not destined to Germany. Explosives probably were destined to Ukraine, right? To Kiev regime, most likely. But either way, I don't think they're gonna blame Russia, obviously, but I don't think Russia has anything to do with it. Unfortunately, I mean, if you ask me, by the way, Russian. I mean, I don't really understand how come that any of these AN-124s are still flying. For example, we are at war, right? We are at war. So how come that these planes even are capable of flying? Why we did not destroy them through different means, with direct or indirect influencer? How come that? I mean, there's so many questions, man. How come that Zelensky is still walking around there as if nothing is happening, and all the other mass murderers and the terrorists from Kiev regime? I mean, let's start from there. I mean, so many things are done wrongly, by the way, and there arises questions that at this point, it's pointless actually to talk about what should be done, because but yes, poorly orchestrated false flag operation, by the way. I don't know level of hysteria in Europe or in the West. Are they talking about this stuff too much, or European society just also tired kind of with Ukraine and no longer pays any attention to these developments? I don't know. Would not be surprised at all if Europeans don't even care no more, right? Whatever part of European society has been already brainwashed to become a total Russia haters. Well, they already are Russia haters, right? So you don't need to further indoctrinate them into Russia hate. They already are there, right? And people in Europe that are free thinkers, right, and are not being influenced by this propaganda, anti-Russian propaganda, and those people not gonna take no seriously any freaking nonsense that they're gonna hear from anyone's side, by the way, including Western ruling class, isn't it? But when it comes to Ukrainian terrorism, when it comes to Western terrorism, by the way, I have said many times before that eventually these Western countries will definitely face the consequences or will pay the price for enhancing Ukrainian terrorists and Ukrainian criminals, mass murderers. And well, I guess time is coming closer and closer when European countries and Northern American countries like US, Canada will, will are about to uh, experience what I was meaning under the consequences. And well, this report, for example, give us a hint. Report in the Financial Times that Colombian narcos are sending basically their staff into Ukraine to learn to gain advanced knowledge of drone for warfare and basically to become battle capable, right, in a high intensity war. Financial Times reports Colombian drug cartels are going to Ukraine to learn how to fight with the drones. Colombian drug cartels and the rebel groups have found a new way of strengthen their positions. They are sending fighters to Ukraine to learn advanced techniques in drone warfare. According to a publication, these trainees return to Colombia and use their knowledge they have gained against their state army. And why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised, by the way, to hear that? Maybe because I was predicting that this is going to happen. And many others, not just me, obviously, but many others were saying exactly this, that, well, Western ruling class will enhance Ukrainian terrorists, Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists, Ukrainian criminals. Well, they will face consequences as a result of that, as a result of these irresponsible policies, and they do. Recently, we have reports that 800,000 pieces of weapons, different type of weapon systems, are missing from Ukraine. 800,000, and that includes everything from pistols and assault rifles to machine guns, anti-tank guided missile systems, and the manpads. And you think, where that weapons go? In many cases, not necessarily in all cases, but in many cases, those weapons are already in hands of criminal gangs in Europe, criminal gangs in US, elsewhere, and also obviously main buyers are these narcos because they have money, man. They have money, they have force, and they need weapons to further strengthen their position. And now, when there are reports that despite all this U.S. activity against allegedly against narco cartels, when so many boats were destroyed, by the way, in the Caribbean and elsewhere, and God knows how many innocent fishermen were killed as a result. But despite all this military activity, there are no shortages of drugs in U.S. Not at all, according to reports. And how is that? How is that? And is it possible? Is it possible that these narcos already are using drones, man? For example, as one of the ways how to deliver stuff. Because they have drone operators, by the way, they have specialists that can operate with all type of drones, from FPV drone to heavy freaking drones, right? That can carry, I don't know, 10, 20 kilo of anything for quite a distance. That were originally was created as agricultural drones, but were quickly adapted for military purpose in the zone of special military operation. Anyways, We are talking about this stuff, but I wonder what it takes for societies in the West, man, to wake up, right? Because all this stuff is very obvious, isn't it? You don't have to be genius to understand what should be expected after certain reckless policies that were implemented by Western countries. But societies, they are still in a deep sleep, man. Easy for literally nothing works on them, right? There is nothing influences them, man. I mean, are they being freaking, I don't know, man. Are they under hypnosis or something? It's crazy, though. It's crazy, isn't it? And well, dear friends, before I continue, let me highlight, if I may, that this media project exists only as long as I have your support, community support, dear friends. And if you like my work, if you like my programs, please consider to help her to maintain this project. You can do it through several means. You can donate through PayPal. You can donate through Boosty platforms. Links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. You can, of course, help big time with the subscription on my Patreon page or page on Boosty, where I have also extra content. A lot of it actually. All the links under this video in the description box and pinned comment. And when it comes to live streams, right now, for example, of course, you can support through super chat on Rumble, and you can support through a premium subscription gift card also on Rumble, dear friends. Let me now drop a link to my Rumble channel, if I may. Believe it or not, dear friends, I wake up very tired today. Maybe you can see that that's I'm a bit I'm being a bit tired today or something, or a bit chaotic. There are sometimes there is those days, isn't it, that you literally wake up tired, and the whole day I'm thinking that I need to take a freaking day off or something, or maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow, by the way, I don't know, because on Saturday and Sunday, I want to do programs because on Saturdays and Sundays there are big channels, right? Big channels that are taking a break, sort of, right? And there might be more need actually for update. While Friday, I mean, all channels have update on Fridays, so maybe I should have a Fridays as a day off or something. Um, and dear friends, I just dropped there. I will do it again in the chapter. This is a link to my Rumble channel, dear friends. If you have account that I dropped in the YouTube chat, and if you have a Rumble account, please subscribe. And as I said, you can use super chat feature there on the Rumble. There is a super chat feature there on the Rumble that you can use to highlight any question or the topic, or and support my work same time. And also that premium subscription gift card there. And there is also on Patreon, isn't it? Scooby, I know it because of the Scooby, by the way, because I knew I can do gift, right? And I was thinking that it's just me, authors can gift their subscription to others, right? But then Scooby came around, and he gifted at least 5 subscriptions, more, I think, 7 or more subscriptions to members of our community. So there is such a feature on the Patreon also, actually, that can be used for donation. Unfortunately, I don't have a freaking buy me a coffee, man. That was easiest way to donate to the project for many members of our community because everyone was familiar, but I don't have it, so you know. Anyways, dear friends, many thanks to everybody who ever supported and continues to support my work and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary, and keeps this project alive, right? For 4 years, it's a quite a long time, man. I mean, thanks to you, dear friends, and everybody who ever supported. I'm doing this stuff full time 4 years now. That's quite something. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And let's continue with some other news, a few more news. Almost straight, Middle East, dear friends. We have an update that Iran and Oman agreed to open shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, which is a good deal, big deal. Iran and Oman have reached an agreement to fully open the Strait of Hormuz to shipping, which is subject to approval by Iran's Supreme National Security Council. Saudi Arabia's Al Haddad television channel reported, citing high-ranking source. And earlier, dear friends, I reported, that Oman and Iran practically reached the agreement in regards to control over the Strait of Hormuz on the northern vessels that will try to enter the Persian Gulf will go from a northern route through Iranian waters, basically like that, and will pay fee or tax for services there to Iran. And the vessels that are leaving Persian Gulf will take a southern route and will move through Oman coastline, and they will pay services, tax for services to Oman. And overall income from this business will be shared 50-50 between Iran and Oman. So Iran quite effectively going to maintain control over the strait, because without Iran's permission, no freaking vessel will be able to enter the Persian Gulf. And of course, this was probably not exactly the deal that Washington was hoping for when they influenced Oman to basically get engaged with Iran, right? With these negotiations about who controls what and so on. And this was expected, by the way. I don't know level of so-called experts in State Department in the U.S. Or in CIA or in I don't know, Washington. Sorry, in White House or any other institution, let's say. But many people, I'm quite sure, majority of our community, for example, knows perfectly well that Omani leadership, Omani royal family owns Iran, its existence, literally, right? If not Iran, Omani kingdom would not exist. So if anybody in Washington was thinking that they're gonna weaponize Oman against Iran, they were so freaking mistaken. They were so delusional that it's beyond comprehension, right? They're total idiots, man. Total idiots, right? Anyways, unfortunately, whatever agreements being reached between Oman and Iran or any other regional country right now, it's not that important, because unfortunately, Western ruling class is going to go ahead with its plans to launch a second phase of a war, which will happen late autumn, early winter, in few months' time, basically, and therefore everybody should be focused on that. There is not really a point to waste too much time on anything else in regards to this region right now, because all the statements, all the moves left and right is just irrelevant. As of now, totally irrelevant, because war is coming, right? And that what should be the focus of media, especially alternative media, right? Because all these talks, right? All these rhetoric, political statements, and so on are basically diverting attention of the public from the main, which is the war. And maybe American society thinks now that, well, I mean, as long as there is talks, it's good, war not going to happen. No, you've been misled. In reality, US is sending more and more military assets into Middle East, right? US is actively preparing for ground invasion of Iran. And it's going to be disaster. It's going to be total disaster for the US, right? And anything, as I have said many times before, anything from now to that moment when they will launch this ground invasion, when they will launch this next phase of war, is just a deception. deception or just waste of time. And also opportunity for Trump to make some more millions or maybe billions. Trump and his inner circle, his family members, and well, that's why yesterday or day before he said that next 48 hours will be decisive in regards to Iran, right? And why not next 48 hours? Well, because after that is a Friday. So on Friday, when markets close, well, he can go ahead and launch a couple of more missiles to strike civilians in Iran. That's what he does, right? Because, well, that's what Western ruling class wants, to keep pressure on the region, to keep region in instability. And then on Sunday, he will say, well, Iran call us, they are begging us, they won't talk. So I decided we're not gonna strike no more. I mean, for until next Friday. That's it, man. We have seen this cheap show how many times? Cheap bloody show, man. From the American side, from the Western ruling class. And therefore, I'm quite sure today is what? Thursday? Tomorrow, on Friday, US Friday late nighter or during the nighttime, basically, they're going to strike. When markets are closed, they're going to go and strike Iran. Most likely, man. I hope this is not going to happen because civilians going to suffer, man. Every time US strikes Iran, civilians are suffering. But I think they're going to do it. And Iran already warned. Tehran knows what's going on, right? And they warned everybody in the region, especially Gulf monarchies, that they should not allow US to use their airspace, their territory. They should use whatever influence they have in Washington to stop any attacks on Iran. And I don't think those GCC countries actually have any leverage over the Washington. Let's be real here. But Iran warned that if there is attacks on the Republic, then they will retaliate, and they will retaliate big, including on the strategical infrastructure of these GCC countries. So it should be taken seriously, man. When Iran says something, or they're acting on their promises, right? And so GCC countries should be careful. And at least, they cannot stop US attack on Iran. They just can't, right? It's just a delusion, the popular delusion throughout the media, right, including MSM, that, well, these Gulf monarchies, they invested so much in the US that they have a leverage. They have no freaking leverage over anybody, man. You really think Western ruling class cares about freaking Gulf monarchies and how much money they invested there? Where? They can take that money whenever they want, like that. Literally, they just can take it, and these GCC countries would not do shit. So I don't understand why these even big channels in the media are repeating these freaking talking points from MSM. Nonsensical talking points that, well, Riyadh has an influence over the Washington and Qatar because of what? Come on, man. These are freaking non-entities, man. These are proxies. Proxies, that's it, They're barely able to, at least sometime, disobey orders. But to impose pressure on Washington or London or... Come on, man, let's be real here. Let's be real. Not happening. And after all, this Middle Eastern chapter of Western ruling class is about destroying entire Middle East. All of it. Not just Iran. But if they succeed, they want to engulf entire region into fire of ethnic and sectarian lines. They want to destroy literally entire region. Globalists, they're neocolonialists and they're Zionist allies. That's what they want. And there are some channels, man. Okay, fuck MSM. Sorry for my French, but F the MSM, by the way. We know MSM is garbage. But why these big channels, even, man, in alternative media are repeating this talking point? Saudis have such influence on US. They invested trillions, and Kuwaitis and UAE. And what leverage? What are you talking about, man? If London decides, they can literally took everything, to the last penny. of those GCC countries, man, and they will literally do nothing about it. They wouldn't be able to do anything. And so Iran is warning. Iran is warning, and I hope, by the way, Iran will be careful in its retaliations to make sure that some they're not gonna destroy during this retaliation some extremely important facilities like desalination plants, by the way. Because without desalination plants, these GCC countries are dead, literally. People will just leave those territories because in mass, because 90%, 70, 80, 90% giving their country of drinking water comes from desalination plants. So I hope Iran will never ever strike those desalination plants. Uh, but there are some other places, right, that can be eliminated as a retaliation. But anyways, ideally, all these capitals, by the way, from region, all the leadership should have some Zoom call or something, right? And and have a good chat and agreement that no matter what, they're not gonna go after each other. No matter what, they're not gonna allow Western ruling class to succeed in provoking of regional scale violence on ethnic and sectarian lines. That's what they should do. So therefore, yes, Iran has every right to retaliate, but I hope they will be very careful in their retaliation. Most likely, Iran itself will be struck by US this Friday once markets are closed. Meanwhile, well, ships are being struck again in the Middle East, vessels. One vessel was struck in the area of Strait of Hormuz. Reports suggest that it was an Iranian strike. Another vessel was struck off coast of Aden, and reports suggest this was Ansar Allah striker, maybe on a Saudi vessel. Ansar Allah movement imposed, or Houthi rebels imposed maritime blockade on Saudi Arabia, and none of it helps, actually, man. This is so destructive for the region, isn't it? And that's why I think maybe not really a Zoom call, but something has to be done by these countries, man, in the region. They have to have a meeting. They have to have a proper talk, right? And well, if they are not suicidal, especially GCC countries, they will never ever allow themselves to be used as a weapon against Iran, because that would be suicidal for them, suicidal for entire region, right? But yes, vessels being struck on daily basis. These are vessels that are led by people that think American propaganda is true, so they can move around freely because that's what Trump says, right? And every time that happens, those vessels experiencing some emergencies because Trump says a lot of crap, and no one should take him seriously. And also, dear friends, when it comes to Middle Eastern developments, well, I have said a million times before, and now everybody is talking about lack of long-range weapons in hands of U.S. militarism. According to Washington Post, U.S. has fired over 850 Tomahawk missiles and more than 1,000 Patriot and HUD interceptors so far in the war against Iran, and this is just the Tomahawk and the HUD. Tomahawk missiles and the Patriot and HUD interceptor missiles. Tomahawk is a cruise missile, of course. And what about JAS's missiles? There are so many other cruise missiles, by the way, that US has already used in thousands, right? In thousands. And their stocks are actually very low. US stocks are actually very low. And, well, I don't know, man. That's this low stocks is additional reason Americans to wake up and stop their freaking idiotic government from waging this war against Iran, because next stop is a ground invasion. And well, if the US lost war with Iran in terms of long range exchange of fire, then well, You can imagine what will happen to US militaries if they will, and when they will enter Iranian territory, when Iranian people will fight for their homeland, right? And Americans going to fight for what exactly? I mean, honestly, just imagine you are US, uh, I don't know, man, US trooper, US Marine or whatever. For what you exactly going to fight in Iran, on Iranian soil? What you are defending at that point? Epstein class, Zionists, globalists, what exactly you are defending? And because of this extreme situation, man, I mean, that's what is missing in analytics when it comes to this US military capabilities and their potential strategies that US might deploy. No one is talking about, at least I have not heard anywhere for now, risks that US might go nuclear against Iran, because I don't think US think tanks are that stupid not to realize that with conventional weapons they have no chance now, and they don't have a chance actually with ground invasion either. And that the only way they can, at least on the paper, on the theoretical calculations, have a chance to engulf Iran and the rest of their region into fire of ethnic and sectarian violence is to start dropping nukes. Why no one is talking about this topic, man? That's also something interesting. Why no one is talking about high risks that US might go nuclear against Iran, obviously under the orders of globalists and their neocon allies. And Zionists will be happy about it, obviously, right? But Zionists never gonna use Israel for nuclear strikes on Iran, because Israel will be wiped out then from the face of the earth. That will be totally suicidal for Israel. They're gonna use US to do this dirty job, to deploy nukes, man. So I don't know why no one is talking about it, why this subject is being ignored this much. But you know what I noticed, dear friends, even in terms of alternative media, well, my understanding is that we should think out of box, right, outside of the box. All their authors in alternative media, all the commentators, all the creators, everybody, and the community in general, we should be open-minded, and we should think outside of the box, right? And unfortunately, I'm more and more noticing same talking points in MSM in alternative media. Why? Why is that, man? You know, there is certain classical approaches, right, that everybody is moving around, and very few is risking actually to go outside the box, right, and actually share with the society some analytical work of their freaking brains that might be spot on, might be not, but at least that's what we should do, authors on alternative media, right? But it's a risky, man. When I'm talking about subjects that no one else does initially, and then after 2-3 months everybody talks, well, when I started talking about it, I look like a freaking psycho, I guess, right? Until everyone else says the same. And how many times that was already, man, when I start talking about certain stuff, and initially it might sound like a fantasy or something, but it takes only like a couple of weeks, in some cases couple of months, and well, what I was saying is becoming reality. And all the other channels are talking the same stuff then, because it's safe at that point. But initially it was never safe, right? Because you are seen as a, you see, people are afraid, man. We should not be afraid. We should go out of box. We should say what we think, actually. And if we are good in our analytical capabilities, well, okay, our take, our reading of the big picture will be correct, and the community will appreciate our work. If we were wrong, then we should acknowledge that we were wrong. Things happened, right? But unfortunately, no, man. This alternative media become a extremely safe place, and this is not okay. I think alternative media is becoming a new freaking MSM, sort of, right? And I don't like that. Take a risk, man. You know. Anyways, dear friends, you know what? Everyone has its own way, isn't it? I have my way. Everyone else has their own way. So it is what it is, and I want to make a copy of a super chat, dear friends, until it gets until it will disappear from the chat. So just give me a second there. I have a few more news for this update, dear friends, and then I will go for a community chat. So stay if you have a time. Let's have a good community chat. I will react on super chats and also on. I will highlight recommendations from Christopher. There was no donations, other donations from other members, but there were through PayPal. But there was donations from Christopher, for which I'm grateful, of course. And okay, that's been said. Let's continue with this report that CIA allegedly, according to New York Times, sets up a secret Cuba task force as Trump pressures Havana. Publication writes that the new structure will allow for the rapid deployment of additional financial, personnel, and technical resources to the Cuban front. Well, allegedly, group already includes personnel involved in recruiting agents, analysts, cyber operators, specialists, and cyber operation specialists, and officers are responsible for conducting covert influence operations. So U.S. gonna go for Cuba, by the way. Basically, that's what it is, right? That's what New York Times is hinting there, and we all knew that. We all knew that. I think I was one of the first in alternative media who said that after Venezuela, of course, U.S. would go after Cuba. I was saying that this mobilization of U.S. around the Venezuelan topic, way before they kidnapped Maduro, is not so much about Venezuela, but about Cuba, and I was correct. Right? Because in Venezuela, Washington already had a deal, right? They already had a deal with Maduro and his government. And all this kidnapping and rest of it, by the way, is just freaking show that they come up with. Maduro probably agree, and he will spend some time in the jail. He will then will be released and live his freaking life, extremely rich life somewhere, right, in shadows. And meanwhile, well, formally Maduro's government is taking orders from whom? From Rubio and Trump. According to reports from Rubio is like emperor now in Latin America and oversees operations through several countries, including Venezuela. And I was saying, by the way, this build-up in the region is about Cuba. It's not about it. It was never about Venezuela alone. And of course, to enforce the system, not so much to enforce or reinforce a Republican Party, but to reinforce the system, this corrupt system that is in US, to then be able to further enhance the level of manipulation of the mindsets of the people, right? So you need to be able to control their public opinion, to control their people's minds, right? Majority at least, in order to keep the system running, no matter how bad it is, no matter how corrupt it is. And system is shaking in the US. More and more people are waking up and asking questions. What the hell is going on, right? Democrats, the Republicans, no matter who you vote, everything stays the same or even worse, right? And fundamentally, nothing changes despite pre-election promises, right, of all sorts. So more and more people are waking up, asking questions that shakes the system's foundations of this corrupt system. And now, after this extremely unpopular Iran war, of course, American ruling class needs something that will enhance their corrupt system in the US in terms of ability of controlling mindset of the public, and Cuba is going to be that something, right? They're going to go for a Cuba, by the way. If I mean, I don't know, they're going to go for a military invasion, they're going to go for a color revolution type of operation or something else, but in next 50 to 70 days, in next 2 months, basically, in next 2 months, Cuba gonna be, assaulted by U.S. Something big is going to happen. Then it's like 100 days, isn't it? Approximately 100 days left until midterm elections, isn't it, in the U.S. So time is kind of running out for American ruling class to come up with some freaking victory, something, right? To further poison the mind of the people in the U.S. majority, right? And keep them zombified and rely on the system, right? And in the belief that, well, system is working, while in reality it does not. So yeah, Cuba unfortunately is about to enter possibly darkest times of in modern era, and it is anybody's guess, man, how bad things gonna get. Anything might happen from mass casualties as a result of direct clashes of invading American force and Cuban forces. From that to civil war potentially inside the Cuba, anything might happen. Things might deteriorate tremendously. Situation is bad right now. Cuba might be turned into hell on earth by Americans, unfortunately, in next 2 months' time, by American ruling class, that is. Also, I think this topic worth for our attention, that it's the 81st anniversary of atomic bombing of Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This during the Second World War, more than 400,000 people, more than 450,000 people have been killed as a result of this bombing. Hundreds of thousands initially, and then hundreds of thousands as a result of radiation sickness and the consequences. And there was ceremonies throughout Japan, by the way, ceremonies to remember the casualties of this bombing. And believe it or not, but not a single Japanese politician or the public figure, including prime minister, dare to mention US, that it was US that bombed Japan. It was not aliens, by the way, it was US militaries that bombed Japan and killed these hundreds of thousands of innocent. So no one dared to say word, man, to mention US. And that, of course, indicates the state of Japan. It's a vassal, right? Japan is a vassal state of the Anglo-Saxon elites, US ruling class, and that is that. And as long as this is the case, by the way, I mean, Japan will struggle to have a good relationships with its neighbors as a consequence, as long as they are staying and acting as vassals of the US. And by the way, Dmitry Medvedev, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, also reacted on this situation, and he says the same, basically. Then everyone will say the same, isn't it? It's embarrassing what Japanese political class is. Totally embarrassing. They have no self-respect, man. All respect for their people, for their country. Total scumbags, man. And so let me read what Medvedev wrote about this situation. What a disgrace that in recalling the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki recently, not once did Japan's prime minister or any other Japanese official bother to mention who did it. Japan is a vassal of the United States, and at some point it will become Ronin. Okay, Medvedev is taking a piece on Japanese elites, and by the way, I mean, I don't know, is Japanese people okay with this? I mean, I don't know if we have Japanese citizens in our community. Probably we do, man. Several Japanese citizens, at least, are in our community. It would be interesting to hear what they will say about it. Are they afraid to say anything about crimes that US has committed? Or just because Japan has committed crimes also during the Second World War, they are not allowed to say anything about American crimes? Or what is the dynamics there in Japan between the society and the US, between their elites and the US? Because this is not normal, man. Hundreds of thousands of your innocent civilians have been eliminated, and your prime minister, not just this one, but neither previous one, dare to mention US or the previous one. What is that? What is that, man? And of course, I don't buy that nonsense that US was justified to use these nuclear weapons because that saved their people. That did not save nobody, by the way. That killed. That's what we know for sure. In regards to history, you can't, if you are serious, you cannot use such a terminology as, I mean, that would happen or that would happen. No, no, no. History is history. What happened, happened. Anything else is just a speculation. You don't know. I don't know. No one freaking knows. What we know now is US tested two nuclear weapons. They wanted to know how powerful, how effective those weapons were, and that is that. And then come up with this nonsensical justification of, well, we drop these nukes because otherwise, so many people would die if we go for occupation. Japanese were already freaking surrendering, man. Right? Already. And when some people say, especially in US, that, well, otherwise, if not this intent to save the lives, otherwise we would never drop the nukes, those people have no knowledge about history, because those people don't know that prior to bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki with the nukes, US Air Force, by the way, burned down the Tokyo and killed about 200,000 people. So those are US citizens that are talking too much nonsense about the stuff. They literally know nothing, right? Literally know nothing. What they did I mean, they were operating similar way in Europe, by the way. Americans and the Brits, they were like competing with each other, which side will burn down more Germans, right? Alive in Dresden and elsewhere. Psychopaths, man. Anyways, dear friends, hey, by the way, there were psychopaths, those elites, by the way, in US and UK. There were psychopaths then, they are psychopaths now. In this regard, nothing has changed, isn't it? Japan also had a psychopathic leadership during the Second World War. Now they don't even have a leadership, right? They are enslaved by the US. Same can be said about Germany during the Second World War. Total psychopaths, right? And now they don't have a leadership. Just freaking slaves of the globalists, right? That are acting as the German leaders. Merz is a German leader. Come on, man. It's a shame. Anyways, dear friends, this is it for our new segment itself. I hope it was interesting and useful. As I said, I woke up today dead tired, man. I don't know why, right? And maybe I will take tomorrow day off or something to recharge myself. We'll we will see. We will see. But hopefully, new segment. Hopefully, I did manage to give you interesting first update today, and also interesting main news update. And now let's go for a community chatter. There were many recommendations from Christopher, and there were super chats from on Rumble, and I will go one by one, dear friends. Let me open Boosty Moosty in case there will be question or new subscription there to highlight. Let me also open Patreon here. And so, okay, let's start. Let's start, dear friends. My apologies if I'm a bit sleepy today. My apologies for that, but we all are humans, isn't it? Sometimes you just get tired, man. Right? Well, let's start with recommendations from Christopher. Once again, thank you very much, Christopher, for your support, for your donations through PayPal and recommendations. As I said earlier in the program, please, I mean, I feel kind uncomfortable sort of now because every day you are donating to this project, and make sure you are good, man. Make sure you are good because God forbid you might somehow jeopardize your financial well-being with these donations. That that would be too bad, right? So I'm extremely grateful for your support, but please keep yourself in a better position first, right? Because yet again, we all are ordinary people, right? Hardworking people, and we all understand that money is not coming from the air. So I appreciate your support, Christopher, but please make sure you are good, right? If you are a millionaire, by the way, okay, then do whatever you want, donate as much as you want, right? But if not, then please be safe. First and foremost, I appreciate your support, but nevertheless, it's not about money, by the way. It's about humanity. So be safe, please. And let's go for recommendations. Manage the decline, what are happening to America, Krapivnik and Vargis. This video can be seen on YouTube channel Stanislav Krapivnik. Dear friends, I have recommended many times before, and I will continue to recommend also as Christopher Das channel of Stanislav Krapivnik. He is the biggest name in Russian segment of English language alternative media. So of course I will recommend. And he is a public figure too, by the way. He is invited every now and then on different TV shows and stuff. So he's a public figure too here in Russia. Also, Christopher is recommending inside the Russia's largest ballistic missile strike on Kiev. The video can be seen on YouTube channel called Tapur Update. Dear friends, yesterday Russian Armed Forces conducted large-scale long-range precision strike on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime. And on Tapur Update, you can see, I think, compilation of their videos of the strikes and the aftermath of that. Many members of community, I think, will find it interesting. Also, Christopher is recommending Dima Travel channel. That's the name, Dima Travel. A Moscow night, beautiful woman and the luxury cars, a 4K video. So if you want to see, nice views of Moscow, that's the video there on our Dima Travel channel. Thank you for recommending, Christopher, and let's go for another bunch of recommendations from Christopher, and then super chatter. I already recommended this first one, Dima channel. Second, it has 880,000 subs, by the way. I'm gonna be real, man, as I am always actually. You know, sometimes this English language is confusing. And to be honest, that's a say. It's not to be honest. I think this way. For God's sake, I'm always honest. So when you say to be honest, that kind of inclines that yeah, you just now honest or what the hell? It's a strange way of speaking, but this is not my first language. Maybe just I understand wrongly that. Anyways, um, I heard first time this channel, Dima Travel, and it has 880, oh, 880 subs. Okay, I was thinking this is some giant channel of 880,000, man. Maybe it will get to that point, you know? You never know, Christopher, isn't it? Maybe, this channel is destined to become a major channel in a travel segment. Let's wish them a luck, by the way, there. Also, another recommendation from Christopher. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Englishman in Russia. About Western captured tanks, by the way. On Englishman in Russia channel, you can see a video in which this trophy military equipment is depicted, including Western-made main battle tanks. Many people will find it interesting, dear friends. Of course, throughout Russia, including in Moscow, there are open-air museums where you can actually see this trophy equipment. And there is constant updates there. Constant updates. I was thinking a couple of times to go to Park Победы. That's the area where this open-air museum is here in Moscow. And maybe I will, man, in next couple of weeks or something. Let's see how time-wise, if I will manage to do it. I'm unable to do freaking reaction video, man, believe it or not. I don't know, man, why time is flying this fast, but I wake up, I start working on the first update straight away. Then, I just finished first update. I have to upload this on Patreon, boost it, then YouTube Rumble after some time. And simultaneously, I'm working on a second update with main update, live stream. And straight after that, either I'm so exhausted, by the way, that I barely can move, or I don't know, man. Somehow I'm struggling with the time. Time flies, man. Time flies. There is not enough time in 24 hours. Anyways, this is not Kremlin. You think it is? This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Russia Girl, 3.18K subs. This is not a Kremlin you think it is. It's about Kremlin. It's about history, I guess. And Kremlin, by the way, is a castle, basically. So Kremlin is not just in Moscow, but Kremlins are in many Russian cities, right? Famous Kremlins, actually. And I think this video will be about history. And maybe a history of not Moscow's Kremlin, but I don't know, maybe Kremlin in Kazan, for example, or elsewhere. And interesting detail about Kremlin here in Moscow, that it was white initially. Originally, it was white, as most of Kremlins are here in Russia. They are white. And then I believe Italian architecture was invited, and Italian architecture redesigned the Kremlin, and red brick was used during the construction, and that's how Kremlin did become a red color. And then we have, because of the color of the Kremlin, we end up having a red square, right? Oh, really? Alexander is commenting. Kremlin is in several different cities. That's the news to me. Interesting. Yes, there is a lot of Kremlins, by the way, throughout Russia. A lot of them. Much more, historically, much more important, I will argue, that Moscow's Kremlin. Historically, much more rich than Moscow's Kremlin. So yes, throughout Russia, there is lot of Kremlins, man. There was a Kremlin in Dmitrov. You know, before we moved to Moscow, we were living in the Moscow region in Dmitrov city, isn't it? And I have filmed there many times on my Patreon page and Boosty page. There are a lot of videos, by the way, from the area where Kremlin was before. Right now, this only foundation left of their old Kremlin, but there was a Kremlin in Dmitrov too. You know, and the area is still called nowadays as a Kremlin area. So yes, there are a lot of Kremlins. It's a castle. So a lot of castles around Russia, of course, but they called Kremlin. So it will be interesting. This channel called Russia Girl, by the way. You see, these recommendations of Christopher are actually initiating dialogue, conversation about some very interesting stuff that may not be necessarily topic of current news updates, right? Immediate news updates, but nevertheless, it initiates interesting conversation about stuff that might be something new, as in case with the Kremlins right now. Also, now let me thank you, Christopher, for your recommendations. Now let me go for super chats. And as I said initially, Scooby dropped her this 13 super chats with alphabets in it. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chats and donations through these super chats. And then there was also other super chats that I will get to it from Scooby with the commentary, actually. For example, this super chatter, how does Russia achieve their goals of denazification with their Nazi-like Zaluzhny as a president? And Scooby, that's the reason why I said that this war will actually end only when Russian troops will be on the border with Western Ukraine. This war will only end truly when Russian troops will be on the border with the Western Ukraine. Anything else from now and that point is going to be temporary. Mark my word, maybe it is difficult to, believe it, right? But I'm personally see it that way, right? All the indicators that I can see tells me that this war truly only will end when Russian troops will be on the border with Western Ukraine. Few years ago, 2-3 years ago, I would tell you that yes, sir, from Kharkov to Odessa going to be liberated 100%. There's all the indicators that that's the direction, but Kiev and surrounding regions might remain as a landlocked quasi-state. Moscow might allow that to happen under their zone of influence of Russia exclusively. But because this war was prolonged by Western ruling class for so long, for so many years now, at this point, I just objectively don't see scenario in which Moscow will actually tolerate existence of Ukraine as a state entity. Makes no sense. Literally makes no sense, right? So therefore, this war will only end when Russian troops will be on the border with the Western Ukraine, and everything else will be liberated, and eventually, after referendums and all the necessary political process, will join Russian Federation as they belong to, right? As to which they belong to, because this is our Russian land, historically Russian territory, by the way. That's the territory where Russia and Russian ethnicity was born, right? Born. It's Russians, man. That's from where Russians are coming from. Territories that today is being called Ukraine. Territory that Bolsheviks took from Russians and give it to, and create then this nonsensical entity, Ukraine, that never ever existed in the past, So of course there will be no denazification and the demilitarization of Ukraine until Russian troops will be on the border with Western Ukraine. And as I said, Moscow itself brings these problems to itself, isn't it, with this restraint policy? Because now, I don't even, they corner it themselves, man. And obviously, I cannot know which direction they're going to choose, right? But they clearly are in the corner. There is only three ways. There is nothing else. One is to restore deterrent with the collective West. which can be only done with retaliatory strikes on NATO countries that are engaged in this war. And I really doubt that Putin will authorize that. But that's the one way, anyways, right? To restore the deterrent with the collective West, force them out from this war, and then rapidly finalize special military operation. Because if NATO countries are out, then for Russia to finalize special military operation, it will only take like 2-3 months max. 2-3 months max, right? But yet again, I don't think Putin will authorize deterrent, Russian retaliatory strikes on NATO countries, which is absolutely essential to restore deterrent. So if we will rule out this option, then there is two others. One is a forever war to continue as it is right now, this slow grounding process, right, until either there is no one left to be mobilized on the controlled territory, or Western world is demilitarized, right, and they no longer can send either weapons or the money to prolong this war. And that's the forever war, literally forever war, because this cannot be achieved. Just not possible, right? Because we're not going to be able to demilitarize collective West. They will always have enough capabilities to finance this war and to transfer weapons. Enough weapons to keep this war going. And they will always be able to produce these freaking drones, right? That they use against Russia. And there is a third option. There is a third option to seek basically, and I don't think Putin will go for the first option. I don't think he will go for second option. And there is also third option now that I see personally, theoretically, which is to sort of seek a political solution to the escalator, which will be obviously a temporary solution, because that will, one way or another, require freezing of the conflict, either on a literally current line of contact or on a line of contact with the certain changes, when there may be some exchange of controlled territories between the sides and something like that. But generally speaking, it will be freezing of the conflict anyways. And I think Putin is leaning towards that scenario, that third scenario, right? But yet again, to reach that point, on opposite side, on side of globalists or globalist control and globalist control regimes in Europe, you have to have people that can come up with their proposals that you're gonna be able to take. And right now, because Western ruling class is emboldened beyond anything, I'm not sure they are even capable of to come up with something that Putin might actually take, no matter how much he would like to find political solution. He might not be able to do so because their demands or Western proposals will be just too crazy. So Putin is in the corner. He cornered himself now, isn't it? He just cornered himself, and I truly don't know what he will do. But either way, if we are talking about denazification and demilitarization of Ukraine, this will only be done when Russian troops will be on the border with Western Ukraine. In a year from now, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, whatever time it will take, this war only truly ends when Russian troops will be on the border there with Western Ukraine. Western Ukraine eventually will be reclaimed by Poland, Hungary, and Romania, obviously, right? That's what I think about it. So, therefore, anything else from now to that moment is just temporary measures. Who is a president in Ukraine? Who is a head of general staff? Or this does not matter really, right? Because if you actually are talking about demilitarization and denazification, that will happen only when we are on the border with Western Ukraine. Also, that's been said, let me highlight more recommendations now from Christopher, dear friends. Once again, thank you very much, Christopher, for your support and recommendations through PayPal. How Russia can win their information war? Ex-CIA analyst explains. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Counter Currents. Ex-CIA's Larry Johnson. So we all are familiar with Larry Johnson and his award difference. So it is whenever he is a guest on a channel, so always interesting conversations. So Christopher is recommending us this particular conversation on a YouTube channel, Counter Currents. So it's up to you, dear friends, to decide. But conversation 100% going to be interesting. It's always the case with Larry Johnson, by the way. I mean, he is definitely has those skills to keep to do interesting conversation, to be engaged in a conversation in informative, interesting ways. Also, another recommendation from Christopher. Zelensky vows to sack officials. Russia's new oil highway Su-57 deal crash. This video can be seen on our YouTube channel called GNF. Vikrant is still on 28.5 thousand subs. GNF, that's the name of their channel, dear friends. And I think this video is also going to be interesting because, well, it's when it comes to Su-57, I think this deal crash is about India's decision to drop basically Su-57. There were, for many years, there were speculations that maybe India will buy these planes, maybe this, maybe that, and there looks like final decision was made that no, they're not going to buy Su-57s. Unfortunate, man. I wanted to see these planes in Indian Air Force. I wanted to see this. China is operating with J-20s, right? And India would have Su-57s. And theoretically speaking, those two planes will escort each other over the Himalayan mountains, right? That would be something epic, of course, but it's not going to happen now. Maybe India will go for American F-35. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. But they need fifth-gen fighter jet, by the way. They are investing heavy. New Delhi is investing heavy in its own domestically built, engineered fifth-gen fighter jet, but they are very long way even from our first test flight. So therefore, it will take probably at least 15 years from now until India will have actually its own domestically built plane. 10, 12, or up to 15 years, right? To go through entire cycle, it's a long process, right? And I want India to have a fifth-gen fighter jet, man. Okay, they're going to invest heavy now in Russian Su-30s, that they have a massive fleet of over 200 planes, and these are very capable planes, by the way, Su-30s. Okay, that's the good stuff. Yes, but Su-30 is not a fifth gen; it's a 4++ gen fighter jet. Good fighter jet, but it's still fourth generation. India needs fifth gen, and I mean, on the market there is only Su-57 right now, and this American F-35. And for God's sake, it will be so sad if India will buy a F-35, man. It will be so sad because I hate that plane, man. It's that ugly flicking garbage that F-35 is, man. Everybody hates it, isn't it? It does not even looks like a plane, man. It's like literally flying garbage. Anyways, video is on GNF channel, by the way. Going to be interesting. Also, Christopher is recommending Military Tube Today channel's latest update, where we can see video. Russia jet drones strike more than three more cargo vessels heading towards the Ukraine. So, as I said, there are a lot of videos, by the way, of Russian drone strikes on our vessels in the Black Sea that are attempting to break through maritime blockade that Russia introduced in response to terrorist activity of Kyiv regime. And well, on Military Tube Today channel, you can check out one of those videos. Thank you, Christopher, for sharing this. Let's continue with the super chatter and Wayward. Thank you very much for your super chatter and super chats actually, and the donations through Rumble. And dear friends, let me drop in a YouTube chat a link to my Rumble channel, just in case, just in case. And on Rumble, there was actually super chats that I want to, if I may, I will make a quick screenshots, dear friends, in order not to miss any of those super chats. Just give me literally a sec. I mean, what you think, dear friends? I think lately this community chat part of the program is no any less interesting, I think, that a news segment itself, because of their activity of their members of the community and their topics that they are highlighting for discussion. I think this is interesting, really, because they are topics that we discussed in the community chat part that are not making headlines necessarily right now, but are nevertheless very interesting, isn't it? So thank you very much for to members. Many thanks to members of our community for this community chat, for this community chatter that we have. I think I think I highlighted, I screenshotted all, and let's continue now, dear friends. Wayward, thank you very much for your super chats and the donations through Rumble. And comment from Wayward is the US supposedly also imposed more sanctions on Russia yesterday. Not sure which sector, but they are doubling, tripling down on the sanctions. Just ask Talas. Yes, US imposed their sanctions on Russian Defense Ministry, among other things. On Russian Defense Ministry, they sanctioned Russian ground forces and stuff like that. It's insanity, right? It's crazy, but yes, US ruling class is demonstrating on daily basis that they are not about de-escalating with Russia. It was I don't know how it happened that Moscow ended up in this Moscow or Kremlin, let's say, began believing that they can actually build the bridges with the current ruling class in the US. I mean, I don't know how they end up in this in trap of this false narrative that they themselves created, But it happened, isn't it? It happened. Also, we were just commenting, it does not matter which chancellor, prime minister, president, king they use to replace these globalists. They already have their script written for them by their real power behind them. 100%. I'm saying the same, Wayward. I'm saying the same. I mean, it's not just what we say, but we say this because of the factual evidences that we see, isn't it, on the ground? How many prime ministers UK had in past, let's say, 7 years? How many prime ministers? And what has changed in UK in fundamental terms, in giving there any direction? Nothing, literally nothing. So therefore, it's not just you and me are saying that there are shadow forces that are actually pulling the strings. This is fact. This is factual. In US, you had the Biden administration, you had the Trump administration. Please tell me what is their breakthrough differences. Only, and I can take argument if one will say that, well, at least southern border is shut down. Okay, I'll give them that. Southern border is no longer open, but by the way, that's the game plan, right? That's the whole game plan. You need to manipulate with the mindset, right? That's what they do. So if you are totally the same, you will struggle with manipulation. You have to have something that you will differ a little bit, and then you will make a noise on that little something, as American current leadership did in regards to southern border. But by the way, same time, because I think her decision to American ruling class has made a decision a long time ago to artificially enhance their quantitatively number of citizens in the US or number of people in the US. Both Democrat and the Republican parties are engaged in this show now, right, to facilitate this order or this decision that was made by actual decision makers in the US. And the only difference now between Democrats and Republicans are the Democrats are opening border completely, Republicans shutting down partially, because maybe from southern borders there is not that much of an influx. But what about legal migration? Is that no longer counts? Counts, isn't it? And what about promise to deport, I don't know, 10, 20 million people that Trump and MAGA was going around or going about? Where is those deportations? Never happened. All they deport is like 3 to 500,000 people out of what, 40 million? You see, it's a show. It's a show. And when it comes to other policies, it's all the same, right? There is no fundamental differences between Trump's administration and Biden's administration. No fundamental differences. And that's because decisions are made by other people. That is that. Germany, take a look at the Germany. Okay, in 4 days' time, maybe Merz will resign, and so what? Whoever gonna replace him gonna be no any less puppet than Merz is. So what's gonna change in Germany fundamentally? Nothing. So I agree with you absolutely, Waywarder. I think so too, and I think more and more people in this world are waking up and realizing that this whole entire theater is being played, right? Entire fake world is being created through propaganda means, right? Especially in the Western world, when they think they have they've been indoctrinated in this delusion that they have some choice and they have this democracy, right? Whatever they mean by this democracy these days, they have this many parties, right? And the political process and this and that. In reality, it's all just BS stuff, nonsense. You're being kept in a delusional state. No matter what you're gonna do, for what you're gonna vote, what you're gonna support, decision makers, true decision makers will stay in the shadows and will continue to pull the strings and push your country, your society in directions that they want, not you, but they. Also, dear friends, let's continue with more recommendations from Christopher. City tour, see the real Siberia. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Valeria from Siberia. She has only 3.15k subs. Thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing information about this channel that shares with the public videos about Siberia, travel around Siberia. I mean, Siberia is one of the most fascinating places, isn't it? Everybody loves to talk about Siberia, travel around Siberia. It's something magic about Siberia, for sure. Also, the king won't survive this. The video can be seen on a YouTube channel called Jeff Taylor, 268k subs. That's something big. In this video, he is talking about King Charles III. Well, that's interesting. Is there a new scandal, something like that in UK? What's going on there? I mean, I despise the so-called royal families, by the way, that exist throughout the Europe, right? I think they are uh, scumbags, right? Scum of humanity. I think European aristocracies in general are scumbags and they're worst representatives of humanity because they are mostly responsible for all the harm that is done to humanity throughout their centuries, actually, throughout the last 3 to 5 centuries. So I never ever gonna have any respect for European aristocracies or the royal families or something like that. And the worst of the worst among them is, of course, British aristocracy and British royal family. So I think it will be interesting to see what is going on in this video channel called Jeff Taylor, by the way, and it's about some new drama that King Charles is involved in. I'm gonna be real, man. I don't pay much attention to UK's internal stuff, so I don't know what happened now, man. Maybe some of their royal family members did some crazy stuff again or something, right? Last time I hear anything or I read anything was about this so-called prince that was best body of Jeffrey Epstein, right? After that, I did not really hear much about this royal family, so-called. And maybe there is a new scandal, right? Who knows, man? So thank you very much for recommendation, Christopher. Another recommendation: Australians talk about living in Russia after a year. Our honest experience Q&A. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Natashenka. Natashenka. 48,000 subs, and I think I'm subscribed. They have several channels, isn't it? Several members of the family are having the channels, and I'm subscribed to at least one of their channels. I know a family from Australia that moved to Russia, by the way, like for several years ago now. Maybe this is the new family. I don't know, but I do know that they are Australian migrants here in Russia, and many of them prefer rural areas because they love to do farming. They had their farms in Australia, which is big in farming, obviously, and many Australians are coming to Russia and are looking for land, right, to use their skills that they have to do farming. And well, good luck to them, man. Russia needs more hardworking people, obviously, and the Russian provides. Russia has so much land, man. If you want to work, just do it, man. Just do it. Hopefully, bureaucracy will become less and less. How should I say? Bureaucracy will become easier and easier to deal with, right? Because everybody hates bureaucracy, right? It's obviously it is necessary to have a certain level of bureaucracy, but sometimes it might become overwhelming. And so hopefully we will continue to have necessary reforms to minimize this pressure from the bureaucracy, right? And that will further enhance this wave of migrants to Russia. And yet again, we need more migrants, hardworking migrants, especially ones that have skills, right, and can be extremely useful for the society and the country. So they're welcome, obviously, right? In my personal opinion. Also, thank you very much for sharing, Christopher. And well, there are more recommendations from Christopher, but before I will get to it, let's react on a super chat first. And for example, this super chat from Wayward also: APAC was shocked. 70 million they spent to defeat Dr. Abdul in Michigan did not work. He won their primary. The real test comes in the general election against Mike Roger, another stooge for APAC. And this is a big deal, dear friends. I don't know how many members of our community are paying attention to these primaries in Michigan, by the way. I mean, no one would ever care about it, actually, even inside the US, except people of Michigan, I guess, right? But because APAC invested this big, they invested tremendously, right, to defeat uh, uh, Dr. Abdul in Michigan, right? I can't give you the surname of the guy. He's a leftist corrector, and APAC invested big, man. APAC invested big in this Mike Roger, and they lost. They lost, man, and I mean, everybody is talking about it now, right? So this well might be turning point in some sense, psychologically at least, that you can defeat APAC, right? Example was needed, major example, and this well might be that major example. And now, of course, when it comes to general elections, yeah, that will be another major challenge, and APAC will go in all-out war, man. APAC will just go in all-out war. They will go crazy, man. So therefore, truly, I would say historical developments are taking place in Michigan in this regard. Yet again, dear friends, same time, let me say that they are. I myself consider to be left liberal, right? But me, left liberal here in Russia, might be called like extreme conservative in the US, right, or in Europe, because leftists moved so far left in the West that I struggle to see them to be actually leftists anymore. I don't even know what politically what they are, man, or ideologically. They call themselves social democrats or something like that. They have some. They are pushing some agendas, by the way, that is totally insane, in my personal opinion, and counterproductive, absolutely counterproductive. Like, you know, when they are going after traditional values, right? They are going after traditional values. That's not okay with me. I am a left liberal. I would never ever think to go against traditional values. Why on earth I do that? What the hell, right? But they do in America. They do in Europe, by the way. Leftists there think they have to go against all the traditions, which is insane, man. That means you don't really have any values in your life, any principles. You are only about destruction, not about procreation, right? So that's not the way to go. There are many other topics, this woke culture, which is crazy, obviously, right? In my personal opinion. Also, lately, this is another big, sort of a big topic in the West, which is this transgender nonsense, right? When some mentally ill individuals, men or women, think they are different sex, right? And they demand from society to normalize that, right? Not to treat them through medical means and to help them, but no, to acknowledge them as a sort of a separate gender or something. It's crazy, isn't it? It's freaking crazy. Nothing to be said about it's crazy and sad, man, because those people, when man thinks he is a woman and dresses like the woman and imitates acting like woman, that's a sad, man. That man, I mean, that individual needs treatment of psychiatrists. No one should applaud that. It's a tragic, right? It should not be normalized, should not be applauded or celebrated. It's a tragedy of the human who is lost in his freaking psyche. He needs psychiatric help. That's the right approach and only right approach. But in the West, they are not just celebrating these mentally ill people and normalizing mental illness itself as if it's okay to be mentally ill, which is not okay, never okay, by the way. It's always sad and unfortunate, and that's why psychiatrists exist, to help those people, right? But they are going after different fields in life, right? And they want to compete in the sports, and what kind of madness is happening in the West when man dressed as a female or man that declares himself to be female then goes and competes in a women's sport and crushes everybody because obviously man's body is a freaking, like, I don't know, man, 10 times more powerful than woman's body, even if woman is a freaking champion in something, right? Correct? Man's body is just built like that. It's more physically more powerful, can withstand more pressure than woman's body. Women's are, I mean, do I have to talk about this, man? So yes, I mean, this leftists in the West are going too crazy, in my personal opinion. And I don't know personally this individual, in that one in Michigan, what his stance are, but I like that APAC was defeated anyways. I like that APAC was defeated anyways, so that's a big deal, I think. But American leftists, European leftists, man, I mean, I don't think they really are leftists, man. I am a leftist. I am a left liberal. And I'm saying that these American and the European so-called leftists are not really leftists, man. They are just, I don't know, man. They need some help, man. That's what I will say. They just need some help. They don't know what they want or what they're asking for. Many of them, not all of them, obviously. And among left, liberal left in America, there is also this groups, obviously, and voices that are calling for a normalcy. But they've been largely ignored, isn't it, nowadays? Anyways, dear friends, let's continue with more. Let's continue with more super chats, and thank you very much, Wayward, for another super chat and a donation through Rumble. And there is a question from Wayward Levon: who is this Russian so-called critic of Putin who fled to France? What is the real story there? I don't even know. Who fled? Does it happen like recently or something? I don't know. Who fled to France? I'm a Putin's critic. I have no intention to flee anywhere, man. I'm here, staying in Russia. My criticism is coming from a good place. And, people like me, we're not going to flee nowhere, by the way. We're going to stay here and do whatever we can to be as useful for society and the country as we can. But, I mean, there are some others, right, that might become more critical. Maybe they decided that, you know what, they're going to run for the West. Maybe they had some connections with the West and they are now running away. And before they will run away, they might say something about Putin so that in the West, they will then use this as a sort of example. Oh, you see, I was a critical of Putin and, I was oppressed and I had to run or something like that. You can be critical of Putin, by the way, as long as you are real, your criticism coming from a good place, you are objective. Be critical of anybody, man. Literally, who cares? Who freaking cares, man? Right? I am a prime example of that, isn't it? I mean, do you see anybody actually more critical of Putin than I am on the topics of restraint, for example, restraint policy that he's exercising for so many years? And what happened to me? Am I was killed or something? Like, did they kill me yesterday and day before yesterday and day before that also? Am I being jailed there like 15 times and I'm about to be jailed another 20 times? No, nothing happened, man. So it is what it is. I don't know, really. Last time I heard about her story that someone official was either deputy of some deputy, I think, of some ministry ran away kind of from Russia several months ago or something. That was I don't know where that person ran, in which country, but that was a few months ago. At least in recent days, I did not read nothing about. I did not see anything to read actually on this matter. So I don't know. Wayward, have not heard nothing about this. You know, and it's funny, man. You know, those people that some official might be engaged in effecting corruption or something, might be Western asset, and if they are about to lose position or be illustrated, well, they will say something about Putin. That's what they do. Many of them, by the way, they will start criticizing everything. Well, yesterday they were keeping mouth shut, but now they suddenly start wake up and they start criticizing for something that yesterday they were not critical of, and then they run away from Russia and then use these videos or whatever, their statements, or critical statements, as a factual evidence that they were critical and they've been suppressed or something. No one is suppressing anybody here for being critical of Putin, right? Nobody. You can be critical of anyone you want, as long as you are not affecting Western asset or asset of any other foreign power. You are free to say whatever you want or be critical of whomever you want, right? And if your criticism is coming from a good place, that's even welcome. That's great, right? Because in that case, you might come up with alternatives, correct? Because that's what we should try always, okay, criticism is always easy. Come up with alternatives, and if you have one or two alternative ways, as I'm trying always, right? When I'm critical of something, I think this would be the better. And then we can have an argument. Am I correct? Am I wrong? But criticism should be welcomed, by the way, right? And no one is suppressing nobody or anybody for criticism. These Western assets, these creatures, man, they love to act victim, right? They always are victim. Oh, we've been suppressed, right? Guy was a deputy of the minister, and then for whatever reason, maybe we are talking about same story, however, then that deputy of the minister or whatever his freaking position was, decides that, well, he thinks he's been illustrated or something like that, decides that he had to run away. God knows how much money he stole meanwhile, and already transferred into some crypto accounts. And then that creature runs away and becomes this freaking fighter for the freedom. And the same story over and over again, by the way. That's why I hate those so-called liberals or the Democrats, right? Western puppets that call themselves liberals or the Democrats. They are anything but, isn't it? They are anything but traitors, man. Just traitors. That's what they are. People that have no principles, have no morality. That's all. Also, let's continue with more recommendations from Christopher. Once again, thank you very much, Christopher, for your recommendations through PayPal. And Christopher is commenting how AvtoVAZ is rebuilding Russia's auto industry inside their 1600 supplier network. Video can be seen on YouTube channel called Attitude Addicts. Altitude Addicts. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Christopher. And this video probably is about AvtoVAZ manufacturing process and everything else. AvtoVAZ is a Russian car giant, by the way. Lada and Niva and all that stuff. I'm not big fan of her. I'm gonna say, man, I'm not big fan of her AvtoVAZ. No one is, right? But maybe we will see something in this video that will improve our attitude towards AvtoVAZ. It's management first and foremost, right? Useless management, in my personal opinion. I don't know. maybe, but altitude addicts definitely have interesting content, giving the recommendations that I have heard from you, Christopher. So I definitely recommend the channel, by the way, but I do not recommend cars from the AutoVAS to nobody, right? Uh, because I just don't, man. Also, maybe after 10 years, maybe after 20 years, if this car manufacturer survives, but now would I recommend AutoVAS to anybody? No, man. If someone will give you as a gift, okay, take it. But to spend, I don't know, 2 million rubles plus on AutoVAS cars, no, man, go and buy like a 20-year-old Toyota, by the way. That Toyota will serve you better. Honestly, man, I'm not joking, not exaggerating. That 20-year-old Toyota will serve you better. That new, brand new AutoVAS, right? That you're gonna spend 2 freaking million rubles on, or free, or freaking, I don't even know how much they cost, man. At least they're two plus, right? When it comes to Vesta and their more advanced models. Anyways, channel giving their recommendations that I have heard and topics that they highlight that I have heard from Christopher. Channel is definitely a good one. Altitude addicts. Afterwards, yeah, I will pass on that. Also, Christopher is recommending how their PC90A engine transformed their IL-76 program. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Altitude Addicts. And that's the confirmation, man. As I said, Altitude Addicts, they have some good stuff, man. They have some good stuff, interesting stuff on their channel, and definitely new Russian engines opening whole new windows of opportunity for the Russian aerospace industry. 100%, including for modernized versions of the IL-76 cargo planes. Also, Christopher is recommending to take a look at the Traveling with the Russell channel. This video can be, Chinese space capsule homes coming to Russia. This video can be seen on the YouTube channel Traveling with Russell, and that's interesting, man. Chinese space capsule homes. That's interesting because I have seen some videos, Christopher. I have seen some videos with these capsule homes that are in China, at least. There is entire installations from these capsules that are built as a home, and it's kind of affordable, isn't it? It's in affordable price. They have affordable price tags, and who knows, man? Maybe one day here in Russia also something will develop in this direction when there will be affordable homes for families like my family, right? I mean, we cannot afford to, buy. We cannot afford to have even dream about getting a mortgage for a house that costs I don't know, man, 7, 10, 15 million rubles. No one gonna give us a mortgage first and foremost, and how are we gonna pay for it, man? Right? So it's just too expensive. And so maybe if something more affordable will be developed, like capsule homes or something like that, maybe that will be the way how many families like mine will go for, because it's better to have your own home than pay rent, isn't it? I mean, it's capsules, it made from capsules or whatever, it's yours, right? It's always better to have your own. So it is interesting topic, actually. It is interesting topic, and hopefully we will have soon here in Russia. Also, we will see development of relatively affordable housing, because right now everything is too freaking crazy expensive. I don't know for whom these companies are building these freaking homes, man. Who is buying this? Corrupt officials? How many homes those corrupt officials gonna buy, man? Like 100, 200, 500? Who else is buying these homes, man? And whenever you look, whichever direction you look, there is a new and new freaking complexes being built. Who's buying these freaking flats, man? I don't know. Corrupt officials, I guess, and their family members. So who else, man? Not ordinary people like we are. Scooby is commenting, hey Levan, house prices in Minsk are about half of Moscow. I have heard about it, Actually, I have heard about it. Many people are moving to Belarus, from Russia. There is entire business now. The businesses have been developed in Belarus when locals are assisting with the move and helping all the way, right? Making it easier for to move into Belarus. But we can't even consider that right now because my older daughter is in a university, younger daughter is in a school, so we are stuck in Moscow. That's how we feel, right? That we are stuck in Moscow, and it's ungodly expensive, man. It's just ungodly expensive. That's for sure. Very comfortable, very nice, beautiful, everything, but it's just too freaking expensive, man. Right? So, and that's why I am even more stressed now than I was before we moved to Moscow because every freaking month I have to ask question to myself: Are we gonna be able to afford next month? Are we gonna be able to afford months after that? It's difficult, man. But we are here for our kids, right? That's all. That's main obligation of us as a parents to be useful for our kids, and we are trying, man. We are trying, and Moscow offers more opportunities, obviously too. So that's whatever we have to do. We have to do in order to be useful for our kids because that's what matters. And we are trying, man, and we'll continue to do so on this last breath. That's the life. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Christopher, these interesting recommendations. And let's go for a super chat again. And thank you very much, Wayward and Scooby, for more super chats on Rumble. And Wayward is commenting. Let no one be fooled. Trump and their war party are not giving up on crushing Iran or Russia for that matter. They don't care how many billions they spend. It's not their money. 100%, Wayward. 100%. Hardly anybody can argue with you. I mean, it's just 100%. This is the case, and no one should be fooled to think that U.S. administration is about peace or anything adequate. No, they are not, man. They don't even know what adequacy is actually. So I agree with you 100%. And also, we were just commenting. I also do not understand how some channels in their alternative media keep repeating their talking points from their state media. MBS has zero influence over Trump. Netanyahu, on the other hand, he owns Trump, and well, that's why I pay attention to on this topic that there is big channels, intellectual people, and somehow they are ending up in a situation when they repeat these talking points that you usually hear from MSM, right? I mean, one of those talking points being this influence that allegedly the NBS or anyone else from GCC leadership has over the US ruling class or the European ruling class or something. And you think, what the hell, man? These guys are servants, basically, right? They are servants of Western ruling class. What kind of leverage they gonna have over Washington? What, what are you talking about? But yes, I mean, it happens, right? Because yet again, this is a classical attitude, classical approach that, you see this GCC countries invested trillion plus in America and continue to invest hundreds of billions. And because in Western world, money is like uh, elevated on a whole different level. Well, if it's about money, then it should be about influence and leverage and stuff too. This is not really their case, right? GCC countries are sending their money in the West because they have to. If they don't, they would not be in the leadership. And those countries probably would not exist either. It's that simple. It's just that simple. When it comes to Zionists, definitely influential force, no doubts about it. I think in the hierarchy of the Western ruling class, and Zionists are part of the Western ruling class. Of course, I think European ruling class is the most powerful. Then, and in the European ruling class, of course, we have to divide, like there is three major groups. There is a British ruling class, British aristocracy. There is a French aristocracy, French ruling class, and there is a Vatican. These three groups, right, that are major force. British ruling class is a dominant force right now, I think. Although neither Vatican, neither French elites are okay with that. Then in the Western ruling class, there is also, of course, this American side of it, American wing of it, which is obviously not that powerful, by the way, no way close, but they still have some power, and every now and then are attempting to compete with their globalists, European globalists, and then there are Zionists. And Zionists are servants of globalists or European ruling class for centuries now. And because they were good servants as a financiers and their merchants and so on, because they were quite good servants, globalists do allow them to have a certain level of power, and they are powerful. Zionists are powerful, obviously, but only because globalists allow them to have these powers, right? And they allow this because Zionists are useful. So it's this symbiosis, right? Symbiotic relationships between these globalists and their Zionists. They globalists will say Zionists are no longer useful, and that will be it. And they will shut down Zionists in quite rapid way. But I know there are some people out there in the West that think that Zionists are most powerful force, but I don't think so. They are Western ruling class, Western elites are most powerful force, and Zionists are their useful asset. Powerful, very powerful, but only as long as the globalists allow them to exist, to have any power, Because after all, no matter how much money Zionists have, European ruling class can take it, literally take it in a second. No matter how much assets Zionists have, everything can be taken from them by European elites like that in instant. And Zionists know that. And Alexander J is commenting: Zionists, globalists, neocons, internationalists, bankers, all the same people. Well, I mean, this is one group. Yes, this is one group, but inside the group, I call it a Western ruling class. That's why I call it a Western ruling class. I unite in that Western ruling class all the groups, right? There are several groups in Europe, there are in America, maybe elsewhere. Not just political, economical, but also religious groups, because Zionists, it's like a religious group basically, as Vatican is also affiliated obviously with the religion, although in terms of this globalist movement, Vatican is present there not as a religious leadership, but as a extremely extremely influential state entity. Many people don't understand how powerful Vatican is, by the way. Extremely powerful. Extremely powerful. In Europe, only maybe France and UK can compete with the Vatican in terms of power and influence. Maybe France would not even be able to. UK will. I mean, UK has a historical, entire history, by the way, of competing with the Vatican, isn't it? They become Anglicans because they did not wanted to take orders from that state city state, right? So they created entire movement in a religion, by the way, for that. So yeah, I mean, you are saying what I'm saying. I'm call them all Western ruling class, although I acknowledge that there are different groups of interests inside the Western ruling class, and also. Thank you very much, Wayward, for sharing, and also Scoobies. Thank you very much for your super chat and donation on Rumble. And Scooby is commenting: Ukraine, Europe, Israel, Saudi all hope their USA will send more weapons or get involved in their conflicts. The system is based on their system is based on this happening, and the USA will exhaust. US is already exhausted, isn't it, Scooby? I think US is already exhausted. Right now, probably US is more vulnerable than ever before since the, I will argue, Second World War. I don't think US was ever as vulnerable as it is right now in terms of either economical stability or the military might. If you take out nuclear arsenal of US, then you can call it a paper tiger. That's how weak US is. If you take out nuclear weapons out of conversation, just conventional means, US is extremely weak. Giving the status, right? Giving the status that it has as a major military power in this world and the economical power, extremely vulnerable. And well, this assault on Iran and their unbelievable defeat clearly demonstrates this vulnerability. Clearly. And if they will go, actually, I hope some sane people in American ruling class will stop this madness, and they will not send their troops into Iran. I hope somehow this can be stopped. But if U.S. sends its troops in Iran, that's going to be a massacre of U.S. troops on a scale that they have not seen even in Vietnam. And that will, of course, further accelerate decline of the US as this quasi-empire. So US is already exhausted. It's everybody maybe thinks to use and abuse US as it was the case in many ways before, but US is exhausted. Literally exhausted, by the way. US pays over $1 trillion to service the debt, right? US economy is a freaking bubble. They don't produce almost nothing. Economy is a bubble. Infrastructure is crumbling. New York Metro is, by the way, hell on earth, right? Should be totally everybody embarrassed that they have this disgraceful metro. And when I say metro, I mean infrastructure. And if metro in a major American city is that disgraceful, then you can have an understanding of overall infrastructure, how bad overall infrastructure is, right? It's like a third world country. American leadership loves to call other countries third world, isn't it? The US is becoming that third world that American leadership was talking about. So it is already exhausted, I think, right? And many Americans see that, acknowledge that, and that's why many Americans are On one hand, they're going for one last hope, and maybe that's why there will be another wave of America First movement now in America as a last hope. Uh, I don't think that will work, and then we're gonna see mass migration from America. Mass migration from America of people that are like generations in America. Not new migrants will leave, but older ones, and they will migrate. Where you think? Russia as one of the main directions, 100%, man, 100%. I don't see how US can survive, man. Actually, it can survive, and it will survive, right? It will survive, but it's going to be so painful, man. They're gonna undergo through the processes that Soviet Union and Soviet people of Soviet Union went in the late 80s and the early 90s, and it's going to be painful, man. They have to rebuild everything from the scratch, and yeah, you can't even explain how difficult that is going to be, man, when everything is kind of collapsed and you are kind of building from their empty page, right? You are beginning to write the story from the beginning, Also there was another super chat from Wayward. It goes to show how full of as their state media is in the US. No major news network has asked the obvious question to Trump: why are you starving an entire population in Cuba? How many Cubans have died? I mean, 100%. Wayward. I have said many times before that there is no true journalism and true journalists left in Western MSM. No, right? They because if you are in the presidential pool and you are not asking this question, for example, then what kind of journalist are you? Especially if you are American, and because you are a journalist, then you should know that your country is genociding neighbors right there. So how you would not ask the question? Why? I don't know. But yeah, to ask her proper questions, one have to be proper journalist, and you don't have the journalists in MSM. Best Western journalists, all of them are in alternative media. Literally all of them, man. There is not a single journalist, actual journalist left in MSM. So it is what it is, isn't it? Maybe some beginners that don't know any better, right, are choosing these household names to launch their careers or something. But all the actual, experienced real journalists are in alternative media, and that's it. And alternative media is not invited. True alternative media is obviously not invited, neither in the White House, neither in the Downing Street 10, neither anywhere else, neither Elis Palace or anywhere. So elites are in the so-called elites are in quite comfortable positions when they don't have to face uncomfortable questions, because no one is asking those questions. Thank you for sharing, Wayward. And also there was recommendations, more recommendations from Christopher. Thank you very much, Christopher, once again for your recommendations and support through PayPal. And Wayward's comment is Chinese space capsule homes coming to Russia. Oh, I already reacted on that. Russians ambushed Ukrainian munition trains, seized their supplies revealed there. This video can be seen on YouTube channel Murat San. Videos about battlefield, by the way, relevant latest videos about from the zone of special military operation are published on number of channels that Christopher is recommending, including on Murat San, and also another recommendation: Russia's MS-21 versus Chinese C919, the battle to break Boeing Airbus grip. The video can be seen on YouTube channel called Lift and the Trust. Channel only has 9.65k subs, and dear friends, I think video is going to be interesting because I myself, as a fan of aerospace industry and aviation, I would like to see what are differences and what similarities are between Russian and Chinese latest airliners, MS-21 and Russian MS-21 and Chinese C919. And of course, it would be nice to also see some analytics about chances of these industries, aerospace industries of Russia and China to compete with the Boeing and Airbus. I hope we will compete in 10, 15, 20 years time, right? I hope so, but I'm not an expert in the field of aerospace industry, isn't it? So I can only hope for that. So video should be interesting. Thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing this update, this recommendation. And let's go for more super chats. Just let me make a few screenshots, dear friends, to make sure that I'm not gonna miss no super chat. I'm not frozen, dear friends. I'm making screenshots here, and I will go back to super chat to reacting on super chats right now to continue this community chat. I think I copied all of them. So okay, let's continue, dear friends. This is another super chat. So, Wayward, thank you very much again for your super chats and donations through Rumble. And Wayward is commenting, almost forget to mention, apparently China banned their drone parts exports to the US. They are reporting that you will need a license on a case-by-case basis. I don't know all the details. I have read about it also, that China has imposed the restrictions on six companies, six American companies that are, and these restrictions are related to drone deliveries, drone transfer, drone technology, drone manufacturing, and this is a retaliation of Chinese side for earlier American sanctions on China, when American side impose sanctions on number of Chinese companies, and as a justification, they claim that this is done because China is using, or those companies are using, forced labor. So it's tit for tat exchange between China and US continues, and I know China restricted six American companies with the latest sanction package, retaliatory sanctions package, and it's related with the drones. It all related with the drones. Also, we were just commenting if the Chinese drone parts exports banned is true. This could potentially affect their war in Ukraine. U.S. along with its proxies in Europe all use Chinese drone parts to build drones that are then used against Russia. And well, theoretically, this might be the case, but I think we are in this case we are talking about different drones, not those drones that are used against Russia, but high value drones that are adopted by U.S. militaries. And also, in one instance, I believe we are talking about FPV drone, a company that produces or is in the business of production of tiny FPV drones that are used for aerial demonstrations, aerial shows. Drones and the drone technologies for a small swarm flight, right? You know, Chinese are very big, very successful in that business, and in America there is also like attempt to go big in this business when simultaneously hundreds of drones are deployed for light shows, right? All sorts of light shows, thousands of drones actually, as Chinese do, time to time. So at least one company is from that field. Another ones are, I believe, from the field that is working for Pentagon. And of course, U.S. is adopting all sorts of military drones. So it's not just these MQ-9s and stuff, right? There are a lot of drones that U.S. has in arsenal, and I think other five companies, those companies will be harmed that were delivering drones to U.S. militaries. Theoretically speaking, it is well possible that China might actually impose, even without announcements, some strict control over the. Alisa, stop, please. That's AI, by the way, decided to get engaged. And so, yes, theoretically, it is possible that China might impose some restrictions or some additional control on drone manufacturers, so that Europe would not be able, US, Canada, European countries would not be able to get that easily, all sorts of parts from the China to then build up drones and then designate it as a Ukrainian one. But I'm not sure about it. If Chinese wanted to shut down that channel, they were they could done it long ago. In this particular case, I think this is only about US-China tit for tat. And therefore, I'm afraid the number of drones that are manufactured in Europe, for example, that are used against Russia or the US or Canada, that number will not drop, only continue to increase. Sadly. But if China wanted to shut down that direction, they would done it already, but they did not. They can do it, but they did not. So I don't think they're gonna change their attitude now. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong on that, and the Chinese will actually shut down all the routes that are used by Europe to receive drone parts. But also there was more super chats, dear friends. It's a 3 hours and 18 minutes. Believe it or not, it's a 3 hours and 18 minutes, dear friends. This community chatter, this live stream. So we were just commenting. Thank you very much, Wayward, there again for your comment. Unfortunately, as long as there is a state called Ukraine, Russians will never know peace. They've shown this to Russia with every action they've taken. I'm not sure if this has occurred to Putin, and I'm not sure about this too. I don't think Putin is actually considering end of Ukraine as a state to be their end goal, actually, in order to secure Russia. But many people, I think, in a deep state, in Russian deep state, and many people in society understand perfectly well that Russia cannot tolerate existence of Ukraine as a political entity. As you are not sure, I'm not sure either if Putin sees this situation in the same way, but I think deep state and society in large definitely sees no chance for peaceful coexistence of this Ukraine and Russia. So we have to go all the way until borders of the Western Ukraine, and we will. We will. It's only a matter of time. I mean, no matter how long it will take, eventually Russian forces will be on the border with Western Ukraine. And that's when this war will actually end. Anything until that moment is going to be temporary. Also, thank you very much, Wayward and Scooby, for your super chats. Russia will also never know peace as long as the Chihuahua of the East exists next to Russia, the Baltic states, Poland. Those states will permanently be a threat to Russia. Well, but you know what? After Ukraine is dealt, after Western ruling class will be teach their lesson. I think Baltic Chihuahuas will calm down. When it comes to Poland, by the way, I think Poland and Russia have every chances to live in peace. I think so. There always will be differences, but I see no reason why Poland and Russia can't live in peace, especially in the future when Poland will gain more power and therefore will become more independent from influence of the Anglo-Saxon elites, first and foremost, London, of course, right? Although Washington is also big there nowadays. But when it comes to, yes, Baltic entities, I think there will be some changes in the political geography of these countries as a consequence of their reckless behavior throughout these years. I think that is inevitable, especially in case of Lithuania and Estonia. Latvia probably also, by the way, will. I mean, these entities might survive as a state entities, but their geography going to change. It's inevitable. I think it's just inevitable, right? At this point, they just act too irresponsibly to get away with no consequences. Finland, Finland is a big question. It is sad that Finland has become this hostile towards Russia. Truly sad, man. For no reason, they just decided to go full blown Russia hater one day. I mean, what the hell? Why they did it? So there might be some consequences for Finland too, in terms of geography, because I think direct clashes between NATO countries, a number of European NATO countries and Russia, is inevitable. Western ruling class is pushing on that direction and will continue to push, and this clash will happen. And as a consequence, as one of the consequences, Finland, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, they will lose their integrity in significant ways. Poland. I don't know. I don't really see a reason why Poland and Russia can't be peaceful neighbors. We should, especially if Poland gains more independence or becomes more self confident, right? And they need that, right? To not to be relied, not to be proxies of their London and Washington. If Poland gains more independence, become more self confident, and in that case, I don't think we necessarily have going to be like bad neighbors for each other. Not at all. I mean, maybe there is a big Russia hate in Poland. It is big Russia hate in Poland, by the way, historically, actually. But Polish elites might be pragmatic, and after some time, this Russia hate might also disappear because, after all, in here in Russia, there is no Polish hate or something. No one hates no Poles, by the way. You know, and no one hates nobody here. That's the point. Where we don't hate entire freaking nations, man, because it's useless. How are you gonna hate entire nation or entire group of people? It's like stupid, isn't it? But I mean, Russian society has been hated. I mean, in many European countries just for being Russian society, which is stupid, but that's what propaganda does, and indoctrination on the people in all sorts of craziness, right? But I don't think Poland necessarily has to be like enemy of Russia. We can live in peace. Baltic entities, including Finland, they will have to pay dearly for their anti-Russian activity. And they were much more anti-Russian in terms of direct attacks on Russia, by the way, than Poland. Poland did not allow Kiev regime to strike, for example, Kaliningrad region, at least as of now. Right? While Baltic entities are allowing their airspace to be used at least for direct attacks on Russia. As of now, what Poland is doing is they are trying to prolong this war for as much as possible and as long as possible, so that Russian forces will neutralize most of their Kiev regime's military. So that when Poland will go for reclaiming former Polish territories in Western Ukraine, which is 70% of it actually, they will receive minimal resistance. So Warsaw has very cold-blooded calculation there, that they will try to prolong this war as much as possible, so that Russian militaries will eliminate as many Ukrainian formations as possible. And then when Polish troops will go into Western Ukraine, they hope that there will be nobody there from Kiev regime's forces to fight them, but they are mistaken. That's the deal, man. They are mistaken because Nazi formations, that there are a lot of Nazi formations in Ukraine, they don't love to be on the front line. They hate to be on the front line. And when Russian troops continue to move further and further westward, so you think where these Nazi formations going to end up? Eventually, most of them, going to end up in Western Ukraine. So Poland will have to face these Nazi formations anyways at some point. And I think they will need Russian help. If Polish elites are clever enough, they have to do proper calculations and realize that they will need Russian help, and better they seek directly or indirectly, openly or behind the closed doors, but they should seek contacts with Moscow and become more adequate. Polish elites have to do this if they actually want to ever reclaim Western Ukraine. That used to be Poland, by the way, before Second World War. And even now, many Polish politicians are calling those territories Malopolska, right? Malopolska, as it is Malorossia, by the way, out there, Kherson, Zaporozhye, for example. Poles are calling Malopolska Western Ukraine. Some 70% of it. So, we will see. We will see what's going to happen. Thank you very much, Wayward, for sharing. And also, Scooby is commenting, informing video, Warwick Powell outlining how China's economic system differs and is far more innovative than the USA. And dear friends, this video that Scooby is recommending can be seen on in the chat on. Can be seen in the chat. Rumble, and you know what? Because you cannot click here on a screenshot, I will drop a link to that channel right now in the chat. So it's an economical channel about economical stuff. By the way, this is a recommendation from Scooby. Thank you very much, Scooby, for a recommendation and $5 donation through the super chat on Rumble. And let's continue. Dear friends, what? I mean, it's 3.5 hours. Wayward is also, thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chat. Therapist in New York just got arrested for transgender boy. They say there are more victims. Go to therapist for help. Get out by him. Welcome to America. I mean, it's crazy what is going on there, man. It's I mean, honestly, it's total insanity, and I don't understand how this insanity somehow become normalized all over the West. How this how societies change that much, right? That this insanity has become normalized, man. I can't understand this. I honestly can't. When I was living in UK, by the way, 20, like how many years ago now? 20, around 20 years ago, 20 plus. It was a healthy society, by the way, right? There's no, there was some elements of propaganda then already, of course. But in general terms, by the way, society was absolutely healthy. There was no like total insanity like it is right now. When certain groups, large groups, unfortunately, of people are pushing for normalization of insanity and craziness. So some 20 years ago, UK was in, in more or less okay place, man. And they're now, I mean, when I see reports from there, you know, when a BBC anchor has to apologize and almost get fired for saying that there was a pregnant woman in a frame, I mean, that's just a very sad place to be, isn't it? Anchor of the BBC. I have no love for BBC, you know, by the way. It's one of the worst propaganda elements out there. But when anchor of the BBC has to apologize for saying that there was a pregnant woman because she specified that it was a woman that was pregnant, that's too bad, man. So if not woman is pregnant, then who the hell is pregnant then, right? Do you ever have seen a pregnant man anywhere? No, isn't it? Because it's freaking nonsense. But for BBC, it's not a nonsense. So this anchor should not specify that it was a woman that was pregnant, because for BBC's leadership and those idiots that are in charge in UK, men actually can be pregnant too. It's crazy, man. It's sad. It's sad, man. In US situation, it looks like even more bad than it is in Europe. So I don't even know what to say. You know, it's crazy. It's just crazy, sad, man. Also, there are several super chats, more dear friends. Wayward is commenting Boris Nadezhdin. That's the guy they're talking about. Boris Nadezhdin. Maybe. I mean, let me Google right now. This guy ran away. He's from. I mean, these guys are affiliated with the pro-Western elements, right? Since forever, really. He ran away. Former MP here in Russia. Oh, really, man? This is not a big deal. Who the hell is Boris Nadezhdin, man? If that's, I'm googling right now. Uh, I mean, let me actually share the picture of him. Oh, this guy, to me personally, this guy is associated, forever going to be associated with all sorts of groups that are linked to Western secret services, Western groups of influence, right? Um, so therefore, who cares if he run away? Okay, man. Okay, let him be in the West. He loves Western elites. He want to be servant of the Western elites. So let him be there. What is the deal? Um, Let me just share right now. That's what we are talking about. That's the guy. So this one is part of this so-called non-systemic opposition, I believe, this guy. Um, I would not say that I pay much attention to whatever he has to say, because as I said, man, there is a certain groups of people that to me personally are totally associated with their Western groups of influence, secret services, funds, whatever else Western elites use to infiltrate Russia. And therefore, I personally don't really consider this guy to be of any importance, really. I don't consider anybody who serves directly or indirectly, willingly or unwillingly, interests of foreign countries to be of any importance. These are, I mean, I'm not saying that he's necessarily linked with the foreign intelligence services, because I have no evidence of that, but he was a useful idiot, at least for the West. As long as he was in Russia and they're making noise, he was a useful idiot for the West, that's for sure. Because these guys, you know what, they are all Russia haters. They don't like nothing. They are not okay with anything, right? And they are embracing Western ruling class. I mean, they're considering them to be freaking angels or something. It's total scumbags, man. That's what I think about this type of people, right? They are not objective. They are not objective, by the way. If you know, be critical of whatever you don't like here in Russia, but be objective, by the way. If you are critical here and you don't critical nothing in regards to Western ruling class and what they do, then you're not being objective, right? You're just being either intentional or unintentional, but tool in hands of Russian enemies, man. That's what it is. That's this guy. If he ran away, man, I don't even know, but that's what Nadezhdin is, and I never really pay much attention to this kind of individuals, man. You know, if I decide in my mind that this guy is corrupted by Western propaganda and now pushes the Western propaganda for whatever reasons, I lose any respect to that person, right? And that is that. Also, let's continue. I think. Oh, did I? I mean, I reacted on this, sir. I think I reacted on all super chats, dear friends. Have I? There is a Patreon subscription link in the comments, sir. Thank you very much, Scooby. Patreon subscription link in the comments. In the chat or in a. Also, I see I see a question from Wayward about salaries in Russia. Let me react on that too. And Scooby, in regards to uh, Patreon subscription link, you mean on Patreon in messages or here in the chat? In the comments, right? And unfortunately, I can't see it. You know. Did it disappear already? Oh, I saw it, man. I saw it now. Okay. You see? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's not been seen or accepted yet, so I will drop now in the chat. Thank you, Scooby, for this support. And dear friends, Scooby just dropped her. Scooby just dropped her 1 month subscription on my Patreon page. This is a subscription gift card from Scooby, so it's free to subscribe for a month. All you have to do is click the link right there on. I will drop on both chats, by the way, in YouTube and Rumble. All you have to do is click that link right there, and the page will pop up. Then you have to accept the subscription, accept the gifter, and that's it. You have a 1 month subscription on my Patreon. Gift from Scooby. So thank you very much, Scooby, for this gift, for this supporter. And also, dear friends, let me react on this super chat from Wayward. And I think that's about it for today's program, almost 4 hours. Nidish is commenting on India rejected F-35 as well today. I think our government is eyeing F3 as option. F3, what is the F3? Thank you for sharing, Nidish. India rejected Russian Su-57, US F-35, and India is eyeing for F3. F3 is Korean 4++ plane. Nidish, what the hell is F3? Let me check on the internet now. Is it Korean one or? Oh, Japanese. Japanese Tornado F3. Okay. Okay. No, man. No. I'm not sure. I know what F3 is. Japanese, Mitsubishi. Okay. Japanese fighter jet. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay. But it's not fifth gen, though. That Japanese plane is still for 4++ generation at best. Japanese and South Korean fighter jets that they are working on, it's still for. It might looks visually like copies of mix of F-22s and F-35s, Uh, I mean, you see also a commenter from Viper GN. It's a Japan 6th gen fighter. 6th gen? Really, man? That's how far they went. Well, I have to refresh then my knowledge about Japan's aerospace capabilities because last time I read anything about them was that they were working on a 5th gen fighter jet. That was not really that 5th gen after all, but yeah, maybe they have more advanced stuff. I don't know. Okay, thank you for this update. I did not. You see, wek živi, wek učis, man. I did not know the Japanese have that advanced capabilities in terms of fighter jet building, but yeah, uh, not really that surprising, given the technological advance of Japan. But yeah, nevertheless, that's interesting. China not gonna be happy, of course, if India goes for Japanese planes. If India Japan cooperation, military cooperation, will further enhance, but it's business of India and Japan. I mean, they're not asking for permission. Nobody. It's their business, so it is what it is. Thank you for sharing. In addition, thank you, Viper, for additional update on F3 Jetter. Did not really pay much attention to Japanese aerospace industry's capabilities, and I should refresh my knowledge on that. And also, Wayward, thank you very much for your super chat. And question from Wayward is there is an average salary for a Russian? How many people can afford to buy a house in Russia? I mean, to buy a house, straight up pay for it. Well, we are talking about maybe 1%. It's just too expensive, isn't it? So, you know, it's just for the rich and very rich that have on bank accounts these millions of rubles, right? That they can just pay for a house straight away. For ordinary people, there is a mortgage, right, as an option. But mortgage is too expensive right now because of the high interest rates. Mortgage is just too expensive, and I don't know why would anybody go for a mortgage now, because it's going to cost you. It's senseless. It makes no sense, literally, right? You're gonna pay 3 times of actual price of the house, so in next 30 years, so it makes no sense. It's just too expensive. Some people might risk it anyways, right? Because no, after all, some people are taking mortgages, isn't it? Maybe even if they know that they're not going to be able to pay it all the way. But yeah, whatever the case, some people do take mortgage, but overall, Russian housing market is experiencing serious difficulties because there is a stagnation. There are not that many buyers right now, although prices are still high, man. For whatever reasons, prices are still high, and mortgages is high. When it comes to medium income here in Russia, it depends on the region. There is a big difference in terms of regions, in which region you live. Average salary is different, and also cost of life is different, significantly. That is, it's not just like a couple of rubles, but it's significant difference. For example, average salary in North Ossetia, Alania might be average, by the way, might be around $500-600 a month, 40,000 rubles, 50,000 rubles a month, which is about, I don't know, $500-600. That's in Vladikavkaz, for example, capital of South Ossetia, Alania. When it comes to Moscow, for example, well, here just for this flat, I pay like $1,100 every month. It's crazy, man. It's crazy expensive. I'm working full time on this project. My wife works full time also, and we barely managing to stay afloat, man. So it's very expensive. Moscow, in Moscow, average salary is about, I guess, 70 to 100,000 rubles, which is which is like, let's say 13 to 1500 13 to 1500 dollars, $1,000, 13 to $1,500, yes, 1,300, $1,500, I guess, approximately, right? Current exchange rate is $80 or 80 rubles for $1, so therefore 80,000 will be $1,000, right? Something like that. So yeah, Moscow is very expensive. Of course, medium salary in Moscow is higher than in most of the Russian regions, with the exception of most northern ones. I mean, in most northern Russian regions, salaries are actually higher than in Moscow. But because of the harsh climate, there are not that many people that want to go there, right? But yes, it depends on the regions. Average overall, if you take everything in account, average salary throughout the Russia probably will be 40, 50,000 rubles, 60,000, 500 to $700. Although in some cities could be less, in some cities could be higher. Like in Moscow, it's high. But yes, in Moscow, by the way, yes, in an average home, four-member family, when mom and papa are working and mother and father are working, if you have a house, you're gonna do okay, right? When both working, you might have around 150 to 100K income every month, so you're gonna do okay if you have your own home. But if you are renting home, like we do, by the way, you're gonna struggle. It's not gonna be easy. So, but no one is forcing you to stay in Moscow. You can go to other region, right? So therefore, it's all up to choices that we make, and it all depends on many other things. But yeah, average salary in Moscow, I think, $1,500 approximately, $1,000 to $1,500. Of course, some might make 300,000, and some might make 70,000 only, or even less than that. But on average, you know. And I'm not statistics bureau. Obviously, this is my observation. This is just my observation. We live here, so, and we talk to people, right? And that's my knowledge from the ground. And dear friends, if I may, I will end this live stream on that. Almost 4 hours. Almost 4 hours, dear friends. I hope you enjoyed the community chat part of it. Many thanks to everybody for your time and attention, for your support. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and take care. Bye for now. Thank you.